walls. The envy of all employees who work in open-plan offices. I would take a fucking beaded curtain just so I don't have to directly observe Carol clip her nails. Do it at home, Carol! This year, one particular wall has gotten a lot of our attention.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border.
That's a Trump wall, beautiful wall.
I will build the greatest wall that you've ever seen. If they ever put my name on, I want a gorgeous wall. You know? The Trump wall, oh, will that be a beautiful wall?
Yes, Donald Trump wants to build a wall on the US-Mexican border, and based on his tone, he also wants to fuck that wall.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that is now sponsored by radio station 198.4, The Soundwave. Now with Rumble and Frenzy in the morning. I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard is Last Week Tonight with John Oliver regarding the project of a border wall. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel Last Week Tonight. How goes?
Got a lot of stuff done in 2 weeks.
I'm afraid to ask.
Nothing productive. I was catching up on like 2 months worth of shows that I neglected.
Oh,
so I haven't caught up.
You, man. Okay.
I haven't caught up. I'm not even halfway done.
Seriously?
No. Yes, actually I am serious.
Dude, I spend time with my family and I still got caught up on most everything I want to do, with the exception of one thing. This is WrestleMania weekend. I'm not excited about WrestleMania. I as a pro wrestling fan, I really couldn't give two left craps about it. But NXT had a special last night, which I heard was just incredible. I got through the first match of it, a tag team championship match. That was like a damn clinic. It was modern wrestling at its best. I haven't seen anything like that in a very, very long time. But other than that, I went out and saw Zootopia today.
Oh, that was a good film.
That was pretty good. The Easter eggs were astonishing. Did you catch some of them?
I think my favorite one was the Frozen reference.
Which one? There were two of them.
The one by Chief Bogo telling her to let it go.
Yeah, that was a good one. Did you catch the second one towards the end of the film?
You mean the bootlegs?
No, not the bootlegs. The guy selling them.
Yeah. Yeah, the bootleg stuff.
No, it wasn't the actual DVDs. It was the guy selling them that was the
that was
Easter
Alan
egg.
Tudyk.
Not Alan Tudyk. The name. You didn't catch that Nick called the Weasel the Duke of Wesselton, and then he looked him in the face and said, "That's Duke of Weaselton to you."
Oh.
I thought that was a great, subtle joke, but it was almost as good as the Breaking Bad joke towards the end of the movie.
Actually, both those characters were voiced by the same guy, which is Alan Tudyk.
I just thought the name was brilliant, but the Breaking Bad one made me... It made me the only one in the theater that laughed.
You know, if I watched Breaking Bad, I probably would have caught it. I didn't.
Well, the brilliant part was there were two primary characters in Breaking Bad called Jesse and Walter. You know, Walter White and Jesse Pinkman.
Uh-huh.
And when they're working in that lab, a sheep is wearing a yellow suit, a lot like the one in Breaking Bad, which was funny in and of itself, let alone he's cooking blue stuff, which is still hilarious. But when he gets on the phone, he mentions that someone just arrived. He thinks Jesse and Walter just got back with their lattes. So I laughed very hard to the point where I was scaring the small children around me. I thought that was great.
Again,
Steve, how you...
Go.
What?
I said, if I had watched Breaking Bad, I probably would have laughed at that reference too, but I didn't.
Steve, how you doing?
I just got off of doing a entire week on day shift, and now I'm trying to change back over to nights.
Sorry.
That sounds suicidal.
Mm.
No, all the cats are still alive.
After a few were sacrificed to the Chinese gods.
Oh, one of them almost damn near got themselves killed.
Oh.
Yeah, he decided to mark my monitor.
Steve was staring at him doing it.
He jumped into my lap, jumped up onto my desk, did his thing, got smacked the shit out of, thrown outside. Unfortunately, it's not much of a punishment because he likes going outside.
You know, that's definitely one way to like and subscribe a video. Oh, wow. But there is one bit of stress left to be had, unfortunately, and that is Comic-Con's hotel registration on Tuesday. Not looking forward.
Yeah,
Why? Why on earth are they doing this on a weekday?
They always do it on a Tuesday.
I don't know. It's
been that way every year.
I'm used to the Comic-Con, registration is at least on a Saturday.
Yeah, maybe you guys haven't paid attention. This is the last few years I've managed to pull off hotel registration without too much extra help, but the format's changed this year. So it's turned into closer to an all-hands-on-deck type of situation.
Yeah, I should be able to help out, but I'll be getting off of work and coming home and trying to get on.
Okay. Well, the subject of this week is the comic book of Transformers More Than Meets the Eye by IDW Publishing, issues 1 through 4. We'll get to that after we get through the news of the week. And first off is Marvel Media news, the Marvel properties that end up everywhere in the Ethernet, with the exception of the comic book pages. And one of the directors of Captain America Civil War decided to open up on a couple of different subjects. Joe Russo, one of the Russo brothers, he was talking first about the costume of Spider-Man. And he told Forbes, quote, "The design of the costume is what it is. That's the design we love. It's the design that Kevin Feige loves, and so on. He's a very popular character, so it's always going to be controversial. People are always going to love or hate what you do with him, but all we can do is make sure we love it and that we are true to ourselves and true to how we feel about the character, and then hope everybody else digs it. We like making strong choices with characters, so while this might be a slightly more traditional Steve Ditko-influenced suit, it's certainly in our vocabulary to develop it into something more extreme as the storytelling requires. I think there are things that people will discover when they see the film about why the suit operates the way it does, why the eyes move, and all the stuff is substantiated. Everybody wants answers yesterday, but then what would be the point of seeing the movie?" Unquote. They also asked him about Robert Downey Jr. recently calling Captain America Civil War his own Iron Man 4. And they asked Russo what would happen if RDJ eventually stops being Tony Stark. He said, quote, "It's almost impossible to replace Robert. He's the biggest movie star in the world. One close-up from Robert is worth another actor's entire performance. He's incredibly gifted and insanely talented. And I think if and when he's done with a character, I think you'll find that Iron Man might disappear for a while. I think the only way you could reboot the character is to give a generational gap that would allow another actor to at least have a chance to redefine the character without the enormous specter of Robert hanging over it. There are so many characters in the Marvel Universe that can pick up the ball and run with it through the next phase or two before you need to see Iron Man again, frankly." Unquote. And there will be teases about what comes next after the credits. There will be an after-credit scene, possibly more than usual. According to Russo, quote, "We can't say who is going to be in it, but we can say that there certainly could be 1 or 2, maybe 3. We can confirm that you should stay sat in your seats when the movie is done," unquote. 3 end credit scenes?
Alright, so no guessing game. Just sit down and wait to the end.
Yeah. Wait till the theater guys come out and start sweeping the sticky popcorn from your feet. Guardians of the Galaxy has teamed up with Omaze to create another charity contest. We've discussed Omaze before. They're the ones that team up with all kinds of celebrities and movie projects to generally get either walk-on roles or tours of the set. And in this one, Chris Pratt filmed a video, and one of the prize that Omaze is giving up, for every $10 you donate to Omaze, you get a ticket. One of those tickets will be pulled, and we'll get a behind-the-scenes tour of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Wow.
in the video, Pratt leads a tour of the set where he makes an ass of himself and reveals nothing about the movie, and even says that there's a post-credit scene if you pretend a single frame constitute credits. But the charity that Pratt and Omaze are working for in this one is the Boys and Girls Club, which is very much in Pratt's wheelhouse if you follow what he does outside of movies. Marching forward into Marvel's Netflix arm, they've cast another character, or at least they may be close to casting another character for Iron Fist finally. You familiar with the name Colleen Wing?
No.
Colleen Wing is Misty Knight's partner. Misty Knight is known as a detective in Marvel Comics, the African lady with the cyborg arm. If she is the hard-nosed detective, Colleen Wing is the lithe wushu expert. She's usually depicted as an Anglo female with blonde or like reddish hair. Usually carries a sword. And word is that an actress from Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Game of Thrones is in talks to nail the role. Her name is Jessica Henwick. In Game of Thrones, she plays Nymeria Sand, one of the Sand Snakes. In Star Wars: The Force Awakens, she played X-Wing pilot Jessica Pava. So she was there in the final sets of scenes in the movie. She would be pretty well cast. She's an English actress, but she's trained in several martial arts, including wushu, for past roles. She takes them pretty seriously. I'm not going to say she's a black belt, but she at least spends time training for the proper skills for the proper roles.
She understands what she's doing is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, well, she commits. That's what I'm saying. She goes all in. Speaking of which, Charlie Cox, he plays Matt Murdock in Daredevil for the Netflix series. They still haven't signed Season 3, but he's been very specific about what he would like to see in Season 3.
What's that?
Quote, "If we're fortunate enough to keep making Daredevil series, I can't imagine doing a run of Daredevil where Bullseye doesn't show up. It would be great. It would be great to have him around at some point. Who would play that part? I have no idea. But I think it's such an interesting, rich character there. And of course, the history Bullseye has with Karen Page is an interesting dynamic." Unquote. I think they're getting to the point where it's going to be much harder to ignore Bullseye's history in Daredevil comics pretty soon.
It will probably be the next logical step, seeing as how, Daredevil has this thwarted so many other guys. It's like, we want to get rid of him. Hire an assassin.
But he hasn't entirely thwarted them, though. By the end of Season 2, yes, he took care of a few problems, but the Hand is still very much in town. He really didn't stop them at all. He just delayed them a little tiny bit. Spoilers, but whatever. It's been 2 goddamn weeks, so... actors are also being cast for supporting roles in Marvel's Most Wanted, the new spin-off series of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that stars Adrian Palicki and I think his name is Nick Blood as Mockingbird and Lance Hunter. They have cast Fernanda Andrade from Sons of Anarchy and The Devil Inside and Oded Fehr in unspecified roles. They are cast in the pilot, and they could play recurring roles. It was recently said that whatever character Oded Fehr is playing, once Marvel fans learn who it is, their jaws will drop. I don't know too many Middle Eastern characters in Marvel, so I'm going to guess it's another name co-opted and they just change things around a bit. But I have trouble imagining who that's supposed to be. I mean, if he said his name was Remy LeBeau, yes, jaws would drop. But that would be for an entirely different reason. Actually, speaking of which, Fox has officially pushed back the Gambit film.
Really?
They still have not said what new date it would be scheduled for. It was originally scheduled to come out October 7th of this year. But due to this delay, the director that was attached to the film, Doug Liндman, is moving on to other projects for the time being. He's been signed to do other films already, so this delay is just interfering with his own schedule. However, filming on Gambit is now expected to begin towards the end of this year. Still no release date, though. I don't know. Is it really worth pursuing at this point? Because Fox seems to be reevaluating most of its properties since Fantastic Four tanked for the third time, and Deadpool was kind of an unexpected hit for him.
I'm afraid of what they're going through their minds about making their next comic book film. Because I don't think they quite understand what makes a good film.
It's interesting you bring that up, because I do have a Fox trailer that came out while we were on break.
Oh?
Yeah, the latest trailer for X-Men Apocalypse came out, and supposedly this will be the last trailer before the release of the movie on May 27th. It's not something that excites me, but it is something that, I guess you could say is newsworthy, you know?
Yeah.
So, I guess we're obligated to a certain extent.
Yep.
I sent the video. It's a Green Van trailer, at least.
Doesn't it ever wake you up in the middle of the night? The feeling that someday they'll come for you and your children.
You'd think that as long as they try to separate the film timelines, they wouldn't keep recycling lines, you know? But they definitely did.
Some believe that the first mutant
Yeah, I think I've seen
was
this
born
one
thousands
already.
of years ago. He was some kind of god, and he's going to rise again.
Did he just rise on disco?
You are all my children, and you're lost because you follow blind leaders. No more false gods. I'm here now.
He always had 4 followers.
Like the
Angel and Psylocke,
Together we
Storm.
will cleanse the earth to the
Magneto and his nifty new breastplate.
We'll take everything from them.
Who do you think was doing that
to destroy this
molecular
world.
entropy there?
Billions
I
of people killed.
Don't know.
The world needs the X-Men.
You're gonna
It's
join
Blackbird.
them, aren't you?
You wanted me to get out of the house more, right?
It's all of us against a god.
Ow.
Let's go to war.
X-Men hate bridges.
Forget everything you think you know. You're not students anymore. You're X-Men.
I still don't like that particular scene.
The Psylocke
Or that
clip.
one.
Havoc. You know Havoc can't survive this movie.
They're doing their best to try to hype it up, but I still could care less.
Well, Bryan Singer directing it is not a bad thing, but considering that one of the writers attached to it did X3, it lowers my expectations to a very painful degree.
Yeah.
And it seems like another case where whoever put together the photography for the movie, not the director, but whoever's in charge of putting together the shots, is so concerned with certain visuals that they really aren't concerned with the physics of it all. I understand that these are characters doing unbelievable things with very majestic and overborne powers, but you still have to pay some level of attention to physics, otherwise the whole thing is just way too easy to yank you out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really concerned that whoever did this just didn't put enough imagination as to how things would work. But Bryan Singer does appear to be a comics fan in some degree, because he's already said who he would like to see as a villain in the next X-Men film. And this is one that brings out the inner child in me. He would like to do a story revolving around the reality warper Proteus.
Oh, damn.
You know, it almost feels like, based on that trailer, Proteus would have made a much more intense villain for that film. Well, I mean, all the powers we saw exhibited there were very much in Proteus's wheelhouse. Not anybody else that I saw on that screen. Proteus could do all of that. But, you know, all Singer would say was that there's a lot you could do with a character like that. No kidding. A guy whose power is only limited by his imagination. Basically makes him Superman.
He's almost a
And
god
metal.
in his own right.
Yeah, metal. Metal is not his thing. He hates Black Sabbath. Deadpool is now the highest grossing R-rated film of all time worldwide.
Not surprising.
Yeah, according to Box Office Mojo, it's earned $745.7 million and still counting. It surpassed 2003's previous winner of the biggest R-rated film worldwide, The Matrix Reloaded, at $742 million. And this comes despite the fact that Deadpool is still banned in China.
Wow.
It stands to have a chance to surpass the domestic record for an R-rated film.
Really?
It currently sits at $349.3 million. The record is currently held by The Passion of the Christ at $370.7 million.
There's some irony there.
How do you figure?
Foulmouth. I'm trying to find the best way to describe Deadpool in comparison.
I was about to
Jesus.
say, maybe we need to redefine irony, because it's not like Deadpool is nailed to anything.
Yeah. Maybe irony was a bad word to use.
Okay.
Or not the right word to use.
Well,
I'm saying there's something funny there.
Okay. Well, last up, when it comes to Marvel Media, casting is apparently underway for the New Mutants movie.
Really?
Yeah, and the news I have isn't about one casting, it's about two. First off, supposedly, they may have already picked the actress to play Ilyana Rasputin, a.k.a. Magic, the demon sorceress.
Ooh.
Supposedly, they have tapped Anya Taylor-Joy, who's the star of the recent film The Witch. Young blonde lady, I'm not familiar with her myself. I have not seen any of her movies. But
have
the
they
bigger
stated what time frame they're planning to use?
Maybe a bigger clue would come in the second group of casting news in that movie, because the second character cast may be Wolfsbane.
Aha.
So they may be going for that mid-'80s term, after the original 5, but before they were broken down during the Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, the other actress that they're currently courting for the role, she might be expensive.
Who?
Word is to play the Catholic werewolf, it might be Maisie Williams. No? Seriously? Did you guys watch any of Doctor Who this season?
No, actually.
Nope.
Oh my god. How about any of Game of Thrones?
Nope. I
Nope.
avoid that like the plague.
She's been in both of them. She plays Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, and she was on the latest season of Doctor Who as the character known as Me.
Okay.
She's also apparently left herself in the running if they ever decide to turn the Doctor in Doctor Who to a female character.
Right. I remember that.
So I don't think she'd be impossible to get, but you would have to open up your wallet quite a bit to make sure she's still available. Although it just hit me. Maisie Williams playing a character that turns into a wolf, and then she's playing another character whose house brand is a dire wolf. That's like kismet. Now, from there, we'll go into DC Media News. We talk about the properties from the other major company out in comic books that is creating its own movies, TV shows, animated specials, video games, and the like. First off, the director of Aquaman is opening up a bit about his project now that Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is in theaters. The director is James Wan, and he has a very different plan for his 2018 film. Get this. He told the Los Angeles Times, quote, "I would love to capture the fun spirit of high-sea adventures, treasure hunts, and sea monsters. That's the spirit I'm going for. Swashbuckling," unquote.
From what, the perspective of the mermaids?
I don't know. I mean, I sense trepidation
I like
from
the
you.
idea, but I'm not sure how it's going to work.
I would have to know what his take on Aquaman is, because all the comic book versions I've seen, yes, he's very maritime in nature, but swashbuckling is not what I describe him as.
Oh, no.
Keep in mind that one of Aquaman's more insane attacks was when people were attacking, I think, Inuit people. He grabbed a polar bear and threw it at them. I'm not kidding. There's an actual comic where Aquaman attacked poachers via polar bear.
Okay.
So I can't exactly see Aquaman, jumping up, having this suave bandana on his head, sash around his waist, reaches into a sash and yanks out a polar bear. Okay, that's just not the way this works. It's more like an episode of Animaniacs.
I'll be honest, I just don't see a whole lot of swashbuckling with him using the trident either.
Also true. I mean, with that, you'd almost expect a more, Roman or Grecan version of fighting, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
He has a trident, suddenly yanks out a net, and it's total swords and sandals time. No prejudging till the movie comes out. It sounds like Juan is at least going for something more cavalier than previous Warner Brothers DC films.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing at this point.
I'm not objecting to it. I'm just trying to figure out how he's going to do it. That's what I'm really curious about.
Okay, that's a fair point. It is official, though, that Amber Heard, she has confirmed that she will be Mera for both the Aquaman and Justice League films. So she is no longer a mystery. Do you mean Mera or Amber Heard? Because I haven't met Amber Heard. I don't know if she's scary.
Mera's a scary character.
Okay. She was pretty fearsome in Aquaman's latest series.
Mm-hmm.
Someone with the not quite the same speed and strength of Aquaman, but close, combined with that hydrokinetic power she has.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, there's about 8 different ways she could strangle you if you even deign to call her fat in those jeans. What are your responses to the news that the Suicide Squad is apparently doing expensive reshoots right now?
Should have thought of that before.
It's a movie that comes out in August, and no, reshoots that close to a release date is not unheard of. It has happened before. The concern I have, though, is that supposedly the reshoots are to try to add more levity to the movie. This is a multi-layered issue as far as I understand it. I've read various stories, and I don't know which are entirely true, but supposedly one of the reasons they did this is because of critical and fan response to Batman v Superman as being a dour film. They decided that the Suicide Squad needed more levity. But the other reason why they did it, and if this is true, this worries me a bit. We've seen the trailers for Suicide Squad, if you recall. We've been kind of universally meh on it. Even Elise and V were not terribly driven to that. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Supposedly, all the jokes that were in the film, we've already seen in the trailers.
For Suicide Squad?
Yes.
Wow, really? Blew their load that early.
I say supposedly. Yeah, supposedly. The rest of the film was supposed to be relatively serious and grim. All the jokes were in the trailer. And supposedly, again, grain of salt, Warner Brothers was a little bit worried that people might misconstrue the movie as a comedy, so they decided they needed to add more comedy to the actual film itself.
Okay. That seems like rather poor planning with the trailer, then.
That would seem to be the answer, wouldn't it?
Actually.
You need to cut a new trailer and make it a little more... you need to make it coalesce a little more with the tone of the movie. Instead, they're changing the tone of the movie to the trailer, which is... I don't know what... I'm not going to say there's no room for extra film in there, because goodness knows, no film ever really depicts the day-to-day life of any character. It just seems like an awful lot to shove in there. Let alone, if the movie is anywhere between 90 and 120 minutes, wouldn't that also mean you'd have to take something out or risk it becoming a very long film?
Like Batman v Superman was?
Okay, I get the feeling you're alluding to something, because every time I mention that film, you start gnashing teeth. What is it?
I don't know what I was expecting. I was hoping to be wrong when I watched the film, and I really wasn't.
Whoa, wait, break. Pump the brakes. Stop. Wait.
What?
You saw the movie?
Yes.
I thought you were going to wait to see that movie like most of us were.
Yeah, I decided to watch it opening day, which, in Merced, it's not a big deal.
Oh, okay. Break time. How'd it go?
The first 15-20 minutes where you saw the destruction of Metropolis from Bruce Wayne's perspective was really good. That was awesome.
Like how you start with the first 15-20 minutes are really good. What happened to the rest of it?
Not so good.
Not so good.
Oh, you saw it
I'm
too?
sorry.
Yeah, we all saw it together.
We all
Oh,
saw it
okay.
together.
Great. I'm
For
the odd
me,
man
some of
out.
the
I
best
decided to see a
lines
talking rabbit. Frick.
For me, some of the best lines came from Jeremy Irons, who played Alfred in the film.
Okay, did he have
He
a
had
lot
some
of
of the
lines?
best lines. Huh?
Did he have a lot of lines?
He was
Everyone
very
laughed
snarky.
at them. Yes.
No, did he have a lot of lines?
Oh,
Not a whole lot, but
huge amount.
everyone
no.
laughed at them.
Great, so I have to sit through the movie hoping that Jeremy Irons speaks. Damn.
He speaks
Well-
enough to get his point across to kind of belittle Batman a little bit.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up the whole show with this, so let me cut this short. It's well known on this show I am not a DC Comics fan. I'm not generally a fan of the movies they make. Do you think this would turn around my attitude?
No.
No.
It's that flat? I don't mean the movie. I mean your answer. It's just like, no, you will not enjoy this. What?
No. It's not an awful film. It's adequate at best.
Honestly, were I to do it again, I would not see it in the theaters.
I agree.
Oh, wow. Would it even be good for a matinee if I could get like half-price tickets, or are you guys telling me I'm better off
Rental.
staying out of it? Seriously?
Rental, or yeah. I mean, honestly, if you catch a matinee and you got nothing else better to do, sure, go ahead. But yeah, it wasn't worth it to me.
It's kind of sad that you're describing this movie in the same way you describe a bad rom-com. You know, if you're that bored, fine.
That's kind of what it was.
Oh, damn. Now I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Because sooner or later, you know, it's got to be a conversation on this show, probably in the next couple of weeks.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't a horrible movie, but I mean, anytime you have to start a sentence like that, you know, it's not going to be good.
Got it. I'm going to buy a bag of sour balls before I go to that film because something tells me I'm going to need comfort food.
Or just get a
I don't know.
blindfold and
I mean,
fall asleep.
the plot was
schmuck.
okay, but you kind of knew what was you were getting into going in. There wasn't any real surprises, and some of the fight scenes, especially the fight scene between Batman and Superman, just there were parts of it that just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Immediately, that fight scene we saw of Batman taking on half a dozen mercenaries, that was kind of
really
awesome.
good. Yeah,
That was kind of
really good.
awesome.
Crap. It's almost one of those cases where I wish I could get high because I don't do that, but it sounds like it'd make it a much better evening.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that
Oh, and there
let
is
me ask-
nothing at the end of the movie, so you can
no
leave.
no post credits. Okay.
Yep, no post.
One last question I will ask: does Zack Snyder do a lot of his typical speed up, slow down cinematography?
I saw a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Oh, Darkseid, kill me now. Okay. Well, Zack Snyder did open up a little bit now that Batman v Superman is out, and he talked a bit about Grant Gustin, the man who plays the Flash on the CW show.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are going to be able to tell me this better than anything else. It was discussed about whether or not Grant Gustin should be brought into the movie, apparently, to play the Flash. Zack Snyder said to the New York Daily News, quote, "I just don't think it was a good fit. I'm very strict with this universe, and I just don't see a version where that tone is not our world," unquote.
They already
will
had an actor as the Flash in the movie, and he's Asian.
Ezra
Asian?
Miller? No, he's not.
Or
Are you sure he's
he
Asian?
looked Asian.
I
He
think he's
didn't look white.
I think he's Mediterranean.
Ah,
And
okay.
that might work.
You know, because
It was very grainy, and of course he's
Yeah.
moving rather fast. So
well, with a name like Ezra Miller, I could just say Jewish, except for the fact that Jewish is a religion, not exactly an ethnicity.
true.
You know, would you say that Grant Gustin not being involved, though? I understand that the show that they've built is not the same tone as the movie. Do you think that maybe a character that added a little light and hope would have helped?
I don't think that's the direction they're trying to go for, which is kind of sad.
That's not what I asked, though. I understand that all the reviews say that this is a very grim film. I just want to know if you think that an actor whose character adds more levity than was in the film would have helped. And I don't mean
Would
haha
help.
levity, I mean like uprising spirits, you know? So, oy. Well, Gustin did get his own version of success, except not on his show. The crossover episode with Supergirl aired, I think, this past Monday.
One of the things I caught up on.
Okay. It actually had a boost in viewership for that episode. They actually had 7.24 million viewers that night.
Really?
That is a 21% increase on an episode-to-episode basis. It didn't do better than the ratings for Supergirl in its early episodes or during its premiere, but it's been a big boost from where it's been over the last few weeks. The other DC show that was running at the same time, Gotham, earned 3.8 million viewers on Fox. I'm almost astonished that many people are still watching it. Which was also just renewed for Season 3. There's going to be more Gotham episodes coming next season. I know people enjoy the show. I can't get into it. It is so weirdly ham-fisted, and the storylines are, in my opinion, weak. The characters are so one-note archetypes, they're just not interesting to me. But Supergirl did just add another actress to its roster to play another DC character. A former World Wrestling Federation wrestler has been cast as Maxima in Supergirl.
Maxima?
Yeah, first of all, the wrestler's name is Eve Torres Gracie. She is actually married to one of the Gracies, the mixed martial arts family.
Mm-hmm.
She was known as Eve Torres in the ring. You know, she's a fairly athletic lady. I think she has a brown belt in something, but I don't recall specifically. Maxima is a strange character in DC history. She's an alien who appeared on Earth, I want to say, in the late 80s, early 90s, with the specific intention of making Superman her mate.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's what her intention is going to be when she appears on Supergirl, I think. Although it's a new Navy, for all I know, maybe she did come with the intention of making Supergirl her mate. The character is more or less a Paragon-type character. Flight, invulnerability, super strength, that kind of stuff.
Actually, she's psionic-based, apparently.
Oh, psion? Oh, okay.
Psychic power, psychokinesis, mental control. Oh, no, and she does have super strength as well.
Okay. I didn't read many comics with her because she's always been kind of a footnote when it comes to Superman history, and she died, I think, in the New 52. So, apparently in the New 52 comic, she was reintroduced in Supergirl with the idea of making Supergirl a potential mate.
Really?
Yeah. You think they just scissor all the time, or what? Alien biology, maybe she's got something hanging in there. Never mind, I don't want to get any further into that.
Please don't.
Okay. And last up, when it comes to the animated adaptation of Batman the Killing Joke, the voice cast has been unveiled, for lack of a better term. As we know, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are coming back as the Batman and Joker.
Mm-hmm.
They've also recently confirmed that Tara Strong, who was recently on Zootopia, will return, and Ray Wise will be Commissioner Gordon. If Tara Strong is in, that means she's definitely going to be Harley Quinn again.
Oh, yeah.
Harley Quinn wasn't in The Killing Joke, was she? The book.
No, not the book.
Okay.
Oh, she may not play Harley Quinn.
You think she might be Barbara?
Well, she was Barbara Gordon in the Batman animated series.
She played Batgirl in video games, but she didn't play it in any cartoons.
Really?
Yes. According to the presser by DC, Tara Strong has played Batgirl in several video games and in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, also voicing Harley Quinn in the Arkham series and Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham.
Yeah, she never actually voiced Harley Quinn in the actual show.
I was fairly certain she did, but I guess I'm mistaken.
No,
on
it
that
was it was someone else actually. I was quite surprised to find that out myself.
Okay. Always learning. From there, we move into general media news. We talk about the nerdy properties that end up on screens that are not Marvel and DC related. And as much as we were talking about troublesome reshoots on Suicide Squad, that's actually happening for another major film out there. It may be over right now because the original story came out on March 11th when our break basically started. And it turns out Star Trek Beyond is reshooting and adding an entirely new character in these reshoots.
Really?
Yeah, they've added the actress Shorhe Aghdashloo. She's an actress that's been in various roles in The Expanse and 24. You guys would probably know her best as Dr. Kavita Rao in X3 The Last Stand. She's kind of a smoky-voiced Middle Eastern actress. There's no entire word as to... she's been cast as one of the High Commanders of the Federation. She has been nominated for an Oscar for House of Sand and Fog. She's won an Emmy for House of Sodom. And, she played Kavita Rao in X-Men The Last Stand. She was recently also seen on the TV show Grimm, and I loved her in The Expanse, man. She was a fearsome character in that one. If you guys haven't caught up on The Expanse, I highly recommend that. That's entertaining. As if I didn't need enough reasons, I now have another reason to apparently watch the pilot to the AMC show Preacher. If the news story on Newsarama is correct, during the pilot episode, they blow up Tom Cruise.
What?
According to Entertainment Weekly, the plot of the pilot episode of Preacher revolves around a mysterious force causing preachers around the world to explode, and during one scene, Tom Cruise is speaking to an audience of Scientologists before exploding. Dude, I'm sold. That's all I need to know. This is supposed to debut Sunday, May 29th on AMC, which I think would be right after Fear the Walking Dead goes off the air. We go from zombies to exploding Tom Cruises. Roughly the same thing, I guess. Okay, do you guys remember about 3 months ago, we were actually closer to 4 or 5 months ago, we accidentally came across one of the trailers to a new Tarzan film, Legend of Tarzan.
The Disney
Nothing?
reboot?
Not a reboot. It's not an animated. It's a live-action film. We saw it's being done by Alexander Skarsgård, and we saw it, and we were kind of floored by the original trailer because we just weren't expecting anything like it. Well, there's an actual full trailer out now for this movie, and I am stone curious about this. Because I have never thought of Tarzan as cool, and that prior trailer floored like the entirety of us.
Oh.
So of course, I brought the new trailer too. I sent it. Oh, it's a Warner Brothers movie. Village Roadshow.
Hello.
That's a big hill. Indiana.
We will never survive. I have done all I can to protect my family.
Except, find an apartment on the ground.
Today, I buried my wife.
Ooh.
Now I fear for my child.
He's a dead man.
Yep.
That is the most unfriendly monkey pounding I've seen.
You can take that so many different ways now.
That's what I meant it for. Just be cuddly. Do you think that she was saving him to be maternal, or do you think that was like a stop at the Piggly Wiggly for her?
You may not like who you were. You may have enemies there,
Oh, wow.
but you need to go home.
This actually looks pretty astonishing.
Your
Yes.
husband's wildness disturbs me.
That scene of him rubbing heads with that lion
I
is
need you to scream for me.
subtle.
Like a damsel. He's Tarzan. You're Jane. He'll come for you.
Well, she wasn't going to kiss him. Oh, rumbling bad. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That'll break your lines.
Alright, I am sold.
Whoa.
That's 1,000 men down there. 20,000 more on the way. We don't stand a chance.
That's Sam Jackson?
A normal man can do the impossible to save the woman he loves. My husband is no normal man.
This looks incredible. Okay, I'm down for that.
Impressed.
Yeah. Dude, I will... That's coming out during Anime Expo. I will walk away from Anime Expo to watch that movie. That was incredible. That looked really good. I don't know what else to say. That was damn impressive.
Yep.
All right. Well, Peter Capaldi has said that a new companion has been cast for the next season of Doctor Who already.
Who?
And, well, that's the thing. He wouldn't say who. Obviously, he's protecting his job, and he doesn't want to get ahead of BBC and announcing whomever that is. But he did say that this new companion would be very different. He said, quote, Clara had prior knowledge of the Doctor. It was conceived as a human connected to your timeline, so had access to the cosmic nature of the Doctor. She understood a little about how he was, and as she was already with Matt Smith, she knew the Daleks and the TARDIS. Now we have someone who knows very little about the Doctor, unquote. He didn't even allude to as to when a formal announcement of a replacement would take place. Last anybody knew, back in February, Radio Times noted that an East Ender actress named Rakhi Tharkar was in the running to take over the role of the companion. That's all there is. Now, are you guys as big of fans of Mythbusters as I was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the show's making a return.
How? I thought they were done.
Well, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman are done. There's going to be a reality show on the Science Channel to find the new host of a new Mythbusters ongoing show.
Oh. Okay, I'm down for that.
According to The Hollywood Reporter, the show will be called Search for the Next Mythbusters. It's going to find 15 candidates out of anyone who signs up to perform a series of stunts and a nebulous use of social media to determine whether or not they have the chops to use science, do-it-yourself know-how, and the ability to really blow things up. I don't know. I if they hold a competition, that's fine. I don't need it televised. Just give me a good show that involves actual science. That was one thing that worried me a little bit towards the latter seasons of Mythbusters, was that they seemed to eschew science for the sake of large kinetic explosion. A lot. And as much as that's entertaining, I would still like a little bit of science. You know what I mean? No? Don't dig science, you just want stuff blown
with
up?
what they did.
Yeah, I explosions is kind of what's necessary. Everything else is,
Well, it's also a good... Okay. It is a very good time to be a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000. They're going to do another live riff tracks project of a movie that they've already done. The film is called Time Chasers. This is going to happen on May 5th, which will be a live broadcast in movie theaters via, what do you call it, Phantom Events. However, I might have to go out and get myself a ticket to this one, because this riff track is also going to be an MST3K reunion. Riff Tracks regulars Mike Nelson, Kevin Murphy, and Bill Corbett will be teaming up with Joel Hodgson, Trace Bolio, Frank Conniff, Mary Jo Pehl, and Bridget Nielsen to do this live riffing. Joel Hodgson, Trace Bolio, those are the original Joel and Crow the Robot. Frank Conniff, I believe that was TV's Frank. Mary Jo Pehl played Dr. Forrester's mother, Pearl. Bridget Nelson, I'm not quite sure what role she had, but I believe she was one of the original writers on on Mystery Science Theater. I would have to sit down for that one. That sounds like a very good evening. Who's a fan of the Black Cauldron?
Yeah, I loved that.
Black Cauldron?
Yeah, it was a Disney movie.
Yeah, I
Disney
know.
Movie way back in the day that combined marionettes and puppetry to create a very
You mean Dark
surrealistic
Crystal?
world.
No, that's the Dark Crystal.
Oh, the Dark Crystal, thank you.
Yeah, okay, that, yeah.
Okay. Black Cauldron was an animated thing, and it was also a series of books that I read.
Yep, you are correct. Well, Disney has reacquired the rights to the Black Cauldron series of books. Disney is, according to Variety, in early development of an adaptation of the Chronicles of Prydain. It's a 5-book series by Lloyd Alexander.
Nice.
The first 2 movies, The Book of Three and The Black Cauldron, were previously adapted by Disney in the 1985 Black Cauldron film. So apparently they plan on going through the next movies. However, this is a notable risk for Disney because the original Black Cauldron was a notable box office bomb. The budget of the original movie from 1985 was $44 million, and it ended up grossing just over $21 million. So this is a little bit of a risk. But then again, writing and effects have evolved greatly in the last 3 decades.
Yeah, and, we've had movies such as, shows like Game of Thrones and movies like Lord of the Rings and so forth. It brings that genre a little bit more popularity.
Speaking of which, I came across the Return of the King the other day. Mm-hmm. I was a little surprised to find out who was in that movie.
Who?
Carl Urban's in it.
Really?
Yeah, I spotted him. He was underneath a long blonde wig and a blonde beard, so it was one of those things where I was staring at him just going, I know that face. Why do I know that face? That's right, he usually has a tricorder in his hand.
Maybe he just wanted to be in the film?
Wouldn't that be great if he just put on a bucket helmet and started judging half of the troll army? Sorry, I digress. Universal Studios is making a seasonal part of its park a regular part of the park. Usually during Halloween, they drag out people in makeup and start doing a special, maze for The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's been reported now with the Wizarding World of... Yes, Soundwave. Now with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter upcoming this April 7th, Universal's decided to expand its pop culture in the park a little further and make The Walking Dead a permanent attraction in Universal Studios. So they're going to have a new version of their zombie maze with authentic zombie makeup, animatronic walkers, and more detailed sets and costumes. And replicas of props from the show. They've even hired The Walking Dead executive producer Greg Nicotero and his effects group K&B EFX to work with the park on the attraction. Oh, that'll be nice. Once they come to near death from fright, you can just take them over to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and put them in the med bay for a little bit. Okay. I had to bring this trailer because I've been sitting on this for a while, and I'm very curious.
What?
Well, it's no secret. Netflix has been working on some new animated properties, including Voltron, Defender of the Universe.
Aha!
They have released a trailer to the new series, Voltron
Yeah.
Legendary Defender. And I've sat on this for a while. I have purposefully not watched it. Just because I'm eminently curious. I'm a giant robot fan, but you never know how these things are going to go. All right, I sent the video. DreamWorks. The Eternal Prism. Knew there was going to be a lot of roaring. Apparently they added a lot of LEDs to it. That is a lot of pistons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is classic giant robot stuff.
Sort of, but the leg going into the back of that line and suddenly being trapped, all I can think is that is a strong robot sphincter.
I'm actually saying remind of an episode of Megas XLR. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. June 10th.
I'm looking forward to this, to be honest.
I might watch it. I'm on the fence.
Really?
And that's only because I have so many other things on my plate. And June 10th, I'd have to start getting ready for Anime Expo in San Diego. That's a busy period for me. It was announced while we were on break that Final Fantasy 15 is not just getting a game that's supposedly coming out later this year. They're also getting an anime and CG movie.
15? I played the demo for that last night.
I still haven't touched it yet, just because I'm letting it go. There is There's already supposed to be a group of minisodes, like 5 minisodes released online called Final Fantasy Brotherhood. The first is already out. I am not going to spend time on that because, dear God, that could take a while. However, there is a trailer out for the CG movie that's been proposed. And a small trailer out for something called... and I think there's a small trailer out for the anime. Do you want one or both?
Let's go for both.
Go for it.
Okay. Let's start with the CG one. So this apparently is called Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15. I sent the video. Following preview has been approved for appropriate audiences. Uh-oh, we gotta leave. Squeenix. City. Big building. Oh, wow.
Earpiece.
Okay. It's not the best character models, but the animation is very smooth.
Hey, they're driving an Audi.
That city looked like it was built based on Superman's symbol. Okay, now we have to defend ourselves from the aliens using special shields. Sorry. An empire of powerful machines. Go, go, Power Rangers! Ooh!
He'll live.
Apparently because he has the power of evil on his side. I have a very special set of skills. Never hurts to have a good blaster at your side, does it?
Force lightning.
Oh. Ooh. That was a shredding.
Arthas?
Well, if he strikes him down, he'll become more powerful than he could ever imagine. Not bad. I need more context, though. There was no voices whatsoever in there.
Yeah, it looks like it's taking place possibly during the coup that happens in the game.
Not sure. But here is the trailer to the animated series, or minisodes. I sent that video. Sword in hand and slash!
Throw.
Ooh, right in the breadbasket!
Oh, that's actually a mechanic in the game.
Yep.
Loudspeakers. I hope that's not going to be the whole game, people sitting around a fireplace and eating beans. Then again, I enjoy Blazing Saddles. That might actually work for me. This series is going to be very popular with the ladies. Bunch of bishies sitting around in dark clothes? Come on, dude. Oh, smashy. Is that Shiva? No, that was a Naga.
Yeah.
I will be honest, one of these characters looked like Cloud, one of them looked like Squall, one looked like Nell.
And one looked like Kanye. Well, a best-selling J-pop singer and songwriter is returning to the music scene. After a 5-year hiatus, Utada Hikaru is coming back. It's like the musical version of Hulk Hogan coming out of retirement. Well, seriously, she set records that still haven't been beaten. She's coming back for more. Either she's low on money or she is just that bored. Which do you think it is?
She's just bored.
I hope so. I don't want to hear about people just having crappy times. But last up in general media news is something that hits me. It hits me right in the heart. Adult Swim is partnered with IG Production to create seasons 2 and 3 of Fooly Cooly.
Oh, I saw this. That's awesome.
It's going to be 12 episodes total, split into 2 seasons of 6 episodes. And the seasons will be a direct continuation of the original series.
Really?
Yes. Production IG is notable for doing series like Psycho-Pass, Eden of the East, Ghost in the Shell, including Standalone Complex. They previously obtained the rights to Fooly Cooly in just August of last year. And previously they mentioned a remake. This is not a remake, this is a full-time sequel. The episodes will also air on Adult Swim in a weekly Toonami block. No words as to what particular dates these are expected to come out at. If you're going to do that, please tell me you're going to release a Japanese language version too. Please, for crying out loud. I am not a dub person. I'm still not a dub person. And I've tried. Okay, now we have Marvel comic news. We talk about upcoming storylines and current happenings in Marvel Comics today. And there was a lot of stuff I actually had to ditch. There was a ton of information between the time we were off for 2 weeks and WonderCon as to what in the frick is happening with this little thing in Marvel this summer called the Civil War 2. There's actual new details about it, and it has been a decade. Can you believe it's been a decade since Captain America and Iron Man had a disagreement that caused the superhero community to implode?
Wow. Yeah,
it doesn't feel that long. Well, according to a story on IO9 put together by James Whitbrook, some of the major points are it starts off with a bang. And by that, I mean Civil War officially kicks off with a 0 issue on Free Comic Book Day that tells its own story. It's not just a preview copy where you get little snippets of stories upcoming. It's an actual self-contained story that may help explain things. That's different. As we do know that an Inhuman is at the center of the conflict. We keep talking about a new superhuman that's able to predict the future with uncanny accuracy. Turns out it's a brand new Inhuman. He's going to be codenamed Ulysses. He only recently had his powers awakened, and he was on a pretty normal route in American society. You know, he was working for his house with a picket fence and family, and then everything was changed when he was exposed to the Terrigen Mists. There was an image that came out that supposedly showed the major teams upcoming for Civil War 2. Who stands behind Iron Man and, protecting the future, and who stands with Captain Marvel in being proactive in changing the future. Turns out those images, not entirely true. According to Tim Beveroot, who's one of the primary writers, the images you see, which are the images for the Civil War II Choosing Sides miniseries, some of those heroes will change sides rather rapidly. According to Tom Beveroot, the artwork, quote, wasn't intended to be definitive. It was intended to encapsulate the whole Marvel universe, unquote. So over the course of Civil War, heroes will change sides, some of them back and forth. So we still can't count who's on what yet. And it was also revealed that not every Marvel comic will be involved in Civil War. The original one, it took all of Marvel. Everybody was involved. In this one, there will be the main series. There will be a series of tie-ins, but it won't be necessary to read Civil War to follow what goes on in your favorite series necessarily.
I kind of like that idea.
No, so do I. And the debate as to protecting or changing the future will evolve beyond its familiar starting point. In other words, it's the initial issue that kicks off Civil War, but it may evolve into another argument, similar to how most conversations happen between grown adults. It sounds like it's going to be a really interesting event. Matter of fact, while I was at WonderCon, I met Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah, I saw your pictures.
Yeah. I got to take a selfie with him, which was cool, because I asked a question during his panel. I was the first one to ask a question, and I got booed.
Really? What did
Yes.
you ask?
I stepped up to the mic and I said, I'm a big fan of your work. I love what you do. But a lot of people would describe your books as very dialogue or word heavy. You know, how would you respond to that type of criticism? And all of a sudden I hear booing and hissing behind me. So I leaned back into the microphone and said, hey, don't boo me. I'm just asking him a question. to which he gave me an honest and earnest answer, which was cool. And I walked up afterwards to just get a close-up photo of him for Mission Start. But while I was walking up, he saw me coming and stretched out his hand so he could shake it, which threw me off. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Really?
Yes. You know, people even made fun of me further in the Q&A because one guy stepped into the mic and he said, I don't care what anybody says. I love your work. And everybody pointed and laughed at me like I was the frickin' villain in the room. Dude. But during his panel, he did reveal the cover to Civil War #2. And there is a player that will be involved in the second Civil War that wasn't involved in the first that might change everything.
Huh.
All I need to tell you was Iron Man's. It was Iron Man squad apparently laid flat with Iron Man in the hand of the person that was in the center of it. And all I need to say is, strongest one there is. And no.
Yeah.
That is true.
No.
He was on Planet Hulk during that, wasn't he?
Yes, but I don't mean the totally awesome Hulk. It's not Amadeus Cho. This was Bruce.
Wow.
Oh.
This is the man himself who's involved.
Rather curious where he stands on everything.
I have no clue. Go ask him.
I'm sorry, my balls aren't that big.
Well, they finally stopped putting out the Protect the Future, Change the Future teasers. So I'm sending you a link to the gallery on Newsarama. Can you believe there's frickin' 12 of these things now?
Really? Damn.
Yeah, some of the newer ones involve Hawkeye. Let me see, Medusa. Old Man Logan. Not Wolverine Laura Kinney. I mean Old Man Logan from the alternative future. And the She-Hulk, who apparently got her head kicked in, and Spider-Man. Deadpool, there is no question which side he lands on.
His side.
No, if you take a look at his image, he's on both of them. He's got an Iron Man glove, an Iron Man helmet, a Captain Marvel shirt, and a small hand banner that says Carol. He's doing all of it.
Yeah.
And there's also an interesting one of Miles Morales fighting with Sam Wilson, Captain America. Two members of the all-new Avengers beating each other up. I'm almost as interested to see where everyone lands as I am to see the event itself. Spider-Man Civil War tie-ins, according to the panel at C2E2 in Chicago. Spider-Man is going to be the one dealing with the previously mentioned Inhuman Ulysses, who can see the future. There was no details given about any of the villains that Spider-Man would face in this particular group of tie-ins, though. However, Hercules is getting involved in a big bad way in this one.
Really?
He's going to lead a group of expendable-style fellow gods into his own tie-in called Gods of War.
Huh.
I really hope... Oh, dude, if Ares was involved in this, I would mark the frick out. Ares and Hercules trying to work together, the world's most relaxed god with the one that just is so uptight, it's unbelievable. That would be great. But it's being done by Dan Abnett, one of the guys who made Guardians of the Galaxy famous. The artist on it is Emilio Liso, who worked on the G.I. Joe Street Fighter crossover.
G.I. Joe Street Fighter?
Yes.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yep.
I only remember seeing the covers for that, though.
But while we were out, during the last week, Marvel has released parts of an image teaser to an event that we knew was coming. We just weren't sure what the details were. We finally know the full details behind Dead No More, the Spider-Man teaser that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
This image is full of so much stuff. Long-term comic fans would have good reasons to wet themselves. I don't even mean that to be facetious or be like hyperbole. I mean, seriously, there's a lot going on in this. I sent you the image. And Dead No More means an awful lot.
Yeah, I saw the people in this.
Now, to be clear, that Spider-Man, it looks like he's almost getting impaled on one of the tentacles of Dr. Octopus, who has been dead. The Lizard and the Rhino are apparently fighting alongside him, along with the Scarlet Spider, Kane, and the Prowler.
And Electro. Electro's there too.
Electro. I'm confused by the Prowler, because lately the Prowler's been working with Spider-Man, so I'd like to know that story. Also, on the far right, you notice some new character with an Anubis-style head, who I guess is the one resurrecting people, and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, I was looking at the Anubis head, I was thinking, who was the guy responsible for the Clone Wars?
The Jackal.
Okay.
But also a big part of it are all the characters on the left, who are prior characters in Spider-Man comics who have died, who have all meant something to Peter Parker. Uncle Ben, Jean DeWolf, Captain Stacy, a number of characters over there. So it looks like Spider-Man's history is going to come back to bite him in a big bad way this fall, which would put it right after the Civil War. There is a meeting that's going to go on in the comic books for the first time ever upcoming.
What's that?
As of June's Patsy Walker, a.k.a. Hellcat, it's going to be issue number 7. It's going to be the first official meeting between the Hellcat and Jessica Jones.
Really?
In the comic books, the two have never formally met. Obviously, this is spinning out of the success of the Jessica Jones Netflix show, where the two are best friends. But I'm interested to see what that arc is going to be about, because the title of this particular arc is Best Frenemies.
Oh, okay.
They're going to be meeting for the first time when they're both working different ends of the same private investigation case. This will be ugly. You can almost guarantee it. There's an artist named Robbie Rodriguez who is retiring from comic books. He's been working on Spider-Gwen for the past few months. And it turns out he's going to be going out in a big way. Because when he leaves, he's going to be finishing up the work on the arc that introduces Gwenom. Apparently, the Spider-Woman version of Gwen Stacy from an alternative universe will encounter a symbiote. And she will be transformed into her own worst enemy. Do you think that's jumping the shark when they're already doing Gwenom for this series?
I don't know.
They're rushing too much.
Well, Marvel at C2E2 in Chicago, they also announced a crossover that has my interest at least. As of issue 13 of Deadpool, it's going to be the beginning of a special 4-issue crossover in a single issue. A story that brings together Deadpool, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Deadpool number 13 will be a special quadruple-size issue that brings all 4 characters in for a standalone story. And it also brings together the writers of all 3 series of Deadpool, Daredevil, and Power Man and Iron Fist. That sounds like it's going to be complicated. I wonder if Deadpool's going to have another hallucination where he smells coconut oil when he gets near Power Man and Iron Fist again.
I don't want to know.
That is a long story. Very long story. And it was also announced that the Unbelievable Gwenpool, that will actually debut, I believe, in a few weeks here. And I finally have a detail as to what this character is about. It turns out Gwenpool is going to be the character named Gwenpool, who woke up one day to find herself in her favorite comic book universe. So the reason she acts crazy isn't because she is crazy. She believes she's in a world where whatever she does has no consequences.
Right.
She can regenerate. She does have that type of ability, but she just believes that everything going on around her is either some kind of expanded hallucination or just not real in general. So she's going to be an in-canon character very soon. Dude, the images of her first issue, they have no text bubbles with them, but she's going to be taking on a pair of Sentinels. Starting strong. Oh, and if you recall, we've been talking for a while about the spring event for the X-Men, the Apocalypse Wars. It's already started in Extraordinary X-Men number 8. The X-Men have been flung into the future. The far-flung future. And they're trying to track down a few of their students that disappeared in there, along with one of their own. Turns out when they arrive, they encounter Apocalypse's horsemen of the day. You are not going to believe who they are.
Enlighten us.
Okay. One overgrown Venom symbiote.
Whoa.
Okay. Who I believe in the next couple issues is going to take control of Old Man Logan. One Merc with a mouth in red and black. If I need to explain Deadpool any further, I think you've missed the point. One man cloaked in white and black who is wearing an awful lot of crescents. Anybody?
Oh, God. Name is escaping me right now.
It's Mark Spector, the Moon Knight.
That's it.
Right.
But probably the scariest one is that the fourth one was an X-Man until earlier in the issue. The Horseman leading them has osmium skin.
Huh?
Osmium skin. He has metal skin.
Colossus?
Yes. See, what happened was several students got caught in a wake of the Sugar Man's experiment along with Colossus, and they were flung into the future. When the X-Men followed, apparently the students had been there for over a year. They had grown. But somewhere during that time, Colossus has been corrupted. He is leading the Horsemen of Apocalypse.
Wow.
Which is an interesting story because, one, he's never been a horseman before.
No.
Two, that actually makes Magic the most responsible Rasputin alive at this point. Oh, I pity.
I'm just curious which horseman they each represent.
I don't know because that's how the issue ended when they just appeared. I don't even want to guess at this point. I just want to see what they do. Because hopefully they're regular horsemen. If this is another set of 4 horsemen of death, they're all screwed.
Oh.
Last up, I'm sorry, you were going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, especially with, now that we know what the function of the Horsemen of Death serve.
Yes, absolutely. Last up, when it comes to Marvel Comics, several notable creators have come together on Twitter and started using the hashtag 80s X-Men. Artists like Kevin Wada, Jamie McKelvey, Babs Tarr, and Rod Rees have apparently been redesigning X-Men with an 80s flavor. Not for any particular project, just for the fun of it. I sent you a link to the gallery that's on Newsarama. Some of the designs are actually really interesting. The first image, though, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Dazzler or the White Queen. Whoever it is, it looks like they raided Shadowcat's closet. The next image, Storm and Michael Jackson get up. That almost makes sense. I kind of like it. Jean Grey. She looks like Molly Ringwald in movies from the 80s.
Yeah. Floating Cyclops' visor.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the shoulders on the...
Oh, the Babs Tarr Rogue? Yeah, that was... I think she's one of Jem's latest holograms. Let's see. No, totally. Gambit looks like a bully in high school. With new wave hair. Yeah. Not quite sure who did the Dazzler. Oh, Miguel Mercado. That's interesting. Although it looks like he ripped off a frame from a music video. Okay, the Shadowcat and Colossus combination, that looks like something out of, like, Beverly Hills High School.
Yeah!
That's... And wow. Colossus with the cut-off shirt, that's...
But,
yeah, I don't need that.
No. Moving on.
Yeah. Of course, only Wolverine can make a pastel suit actually look dangerous. This version of Rogue by Jamie McKelvey, I'm sorry, but that just reminds me of Rogue from the 80s.
Yeah.
It wasn't much different from that.
Color scheme, that's about it.
Yeah. That was an interesting little trip down alternative lane. Still thinking about Colossus and his bare midriff.
Take it. No.
And now we have DC Comic News. And DC Comic News, thanks to WonderCon and the Rebirth reveals during that event, there's actually a fair amount of news in this leg. First of all, a lot of creators are returning to DC around the time of Rebirth. Greg Rucka, who I know has been working on Hulk comics on and off for Marvel, is returning to Wonder Woman. And he's written Wonder Woman before. He did Wonder Woman Year One with Nicola Scott. So he actually does understand the character already. Dan Jurgens is also returning to Action Comics, which will feature the pre-Flashpoint Superman existing alongside Clark Kent and Lex Luthor in Superman armor. I don't know what to say about that yet. We'll get into that in a couple minutes. We see Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, who have been working on Batman and Robin and Green Lantern Corps. They will be reuniting with Doug Menke. A third Superman title called New Superman is going to be written by Gene Yang. It's going to be centering on a Chinese teenager who gains a portion of Superman's power. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
That title was previously called The Superman, but according to co-publisher Dan Didio, the book's title was changed when Yang came on board and pointed out that there is no Chinese word for the. So that's why he's called New Superman instead. Tom King, the guy who's been writing Vision for Marvel Comics, he's taking over as the writer of the main Batman title, and he's going to be working with artist David Finch. Scott Snyder is not entirely leaving the Batman universe. He's going to be working on a new title he's going to be working on the new All-Star Batman title, which will have a rotating art team. And every story arc is going to have a classic Batman villain tailored to the artist. That's an interesting idea. Artists confirmed so far for the book is John Romita Jr., Paul Pope, Sean Murphy, Tula Lotay, Jacques Francesco Francavilla, and more. James Tynion IV is taking over Directive Comics, which features a team led by Batman and Batwoman. Detective Comics is going to be a team book now. Tim Drake will return in that title wearing a version of his original Robin costume, so no more of the Red Robin with weird wings. Nightwing will also be in that book with his classic blue and black look, and he'll also have his own ongoing series written by Tim Seeley. Batman Beyond is going to feature the return of Terry McGinnis to the title role of the book. That's a lot of information, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's not all, actually. There's going to be a new Blue Beetle title where Jamie Reyes is teaming up with a second Blue Beetle, Ted Kord.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Ted Kord is going to mentor the new Blue Beetle. Wally West is going to get a version of his classic Kid Flash costume in the Flash series, which is being done by Joshua Williams. But Kyle Rayner, John Stewart, and Guy Gardner will be confirmed to be a part of the new Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps book. Jeff Johns also confirmed that the Legion of Superheroes, the Justice Society of America, the New Gods, and Shazam will all have places in the post-Rebirth universe, but each of these properties warranted a major story to herald their return and needed room to breathe and not get lost among today's announcements. Part of the announcements is actually a new speeder in the Flash, somebody in white and gold who's going to be called Godspeed. That's not bad, actually. I kind of like that one. As far as pre-Rebirth titles, several series will survive the rebranding post-Rebirth, including Gotham Academy and Earth 2. They'll be continuing their previous incarnations, and they aren't considered Rebirth properties. Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's Harley Quinn will remain largely the same. Brian Hitch will be staying on the Justice League, although he takes over writing duties for the core title from Jeff Johns, and Francis Manapul will write and draw Trinity, which is going to be the new series featuring the main heroes of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Ethan Van Sciver is returning to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps alongside Robert Vivendi, and Scott Lobdell is going to remain on the new Red Hood and the Outlaws series.
That's still going on?
It's getting relaunched in Rebirth. And from my understanding, it's going to be the previous version of Red Hood, not the wisecracking, well-adjusted Jason Todd. This is the one that shoots first and doesn't give a crap about what you say.
I like that one.
Let me see. Joshua Williamson, who will write Flash. Sam Humphries is going to write Green Lanterns. And Christopher Priest, who had a notable run on the Black Panther, is going to be writing Deathstroke.
John with that?
Yeah. John Semple will be the new writer of Cyborg. And Cyborg is going to include a couple... John Semple has had experience on prior minority heroes, including Static Shock and Spider-Man. That's pretty good, actually. I like the shuffle. Now, as I mentioned previously, it appears that the main Superman in Rebirth, though, is not going to be the current Superman that we know, the one that went through the recent depowering and is the younger Superman.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that the free Flashpoint Superman is coming out of hiding, and he's taking over the role of the primary Superman in the DC Comics universe. So, okay, one, I am kind of glad that DC is reestablishing its history of legacy. Although I don't know if there's still technically a legacy to be had for the Superman, considering he's out of his universe. However, they finally made a Superman that's probably the most relatable one I've ever seen, and now he seems to have vanished from this new universe. That is not the greatest thing to me. If you guys have anything else to add, that's just my thought process. No?
I'm trying to get my thoughts together so I can start saying it. It's like I'm finding contradictions in my own logic, which is why it's taking me a while.
Okay. Well, it appears that one major writer from Marvel may be jumping ship to DC.
Who?
Jonathan Hickman, the guy who wrote the Secret Wars recently. He put out a tweet on March 23rd, so it's not an April Fool's joke. And it's a very interesting one, because in it he said, quote, DC editors, you can stop emailing me. The answer is yes. I've destroyed one superhero universe. Don't think I wouldn't love to do it to another one. Unquote. So it sounds like DC may have Hickman close to signing a contract, so he'll work on their comics soon. That wouldn't be a bad move for them, man. Hickman's writing is very complex. Let alone nuanced and well thought. The first Justice League arc post-Rebirth apparently will have major consequences for the League and the DC universe on a whole. The current confirmed Justice League lineup is the pre-Flashpoint Superman, Batman, who is now Bruce Wayne again in a new costume, Cyborg, Barry Allen's Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and 2 Green Lanterns. At the same time, 2 Green Lanterns on one team. The thing is, though, it's probably not any Green Lanterns you're thinking of.
I know. I saw silhouettes of a new one.
Actually, it's 2 of them. The 2 most recent Green Lanterns, Simon Boz, and I think her name is Jennifer Cruz, who was Power Ring up until recently. They're both going to be on the Justice League. Actually, the new Green Lantern series, and that's pluralized Green Lanterns because it'll feature both Cruz and Boz, is being described by writer Sam Humphries as Lethal Weapon with alien technology.
Okay.
Which isn't necessarily good, because if I remember correctly, Mel Gibson's character in Lethal Weapon was batshit crazy. I don't know if you want to add a ring that can, basically put together anything they can think of at that point on a character like that.
I don't know, it might make it entertaining.
Dude, let alone if Simon Boz just walks around muttering 4 days to retirement, I'm done. I'm still very curious. I mean, I know that Lex Luthor in Rebirth is going to be getting an armor. He's going to be calling himself the true Superman. He's trying to dethrone the current one. I still would like to know what happened to the current Superman. I have issues with the character of Superman of being overpowered. That's no secret. And I don't mind that the pre-Flashpoint one is returning necessarily. It just seems like they've gone through an awful lot of work recently in the current Superman to just push it aside like that. Makes you wonder if a character death is coming. Is he going to be banished to another universe or something? I have no clue. The Phantom Zone. He was sent to Marvel's Negative Zone. That would be a story. But Action Comics will be returning to its previous numbering post-Flashpoint, which will be number 957 hitting stands on June 22nd. And the new story of Super League, which will be crossing through most of the Superman comics, is supposed to have huge ramifications and revelations for Rebirth. Maybe Super League is where the current Superman takes a powder. Because that would certainly be huge ramifications. And most of the covers involving Super League have to do with the armored Superman, so I don't know. I may be stretching there. Now, DC is finally going to capitalize on the popularity of the Supergirl TV show and offer a Supergirl... They've been offering a Supergirl digital-only comic. It's just been announced that they're going to reprint it as a 6-issue periodical, though. The digital series launched in January 2016 thanks to the CBS show. And now, in the near future, they're going to re-release all those digital comics as print comics. But you can also get them currently bi-weekly every Monday on the DC Comics app, Read Center Entertainment or ReadCentertainment.com, iBooks, Comixology, Google Play, Kindle Store, Nook Store, and iVerse Comics Plus. And last up, the character of Firestorm, Jerry Conway, is returning to Legends of Tomorrow so that he can write the Firestorm series, and he's looking to bring the character back into alignment with the 1970s version of the character. The current character of Firestorm is done by 2 college-age students, the original Firestorm, Ronnie Raymond, and his partner, Jason Rush. Professor Stein doesn't appear to be part of the Firestorm Matrix at this point. I don't know if he's pretending... I think he's playing more of an ancillary role. You know, the guy in the radio, basically. I don't know about returning the character to his 1970s roots. I mean, the character seemed to finally be getting to a decent decent power level with the ability to transmute matter. Which is something I wish they would do on the Legends of Tomorrow TV show instead of just making him a walking matchstick. I take it you guys still haven't watched that particular show.
Not yet. It's on my list of things to watch, though.
It is hard to recommend.
Really? Damn.
Seriously, I've been following it. I'm hoping that when this season is done, I can just cut it loose, because out of all the CW shows, it has the worst acting of all of them. And although I enjoy The Flash, you guys know I don't think much of the acting in the show itself. It's kind of hammy. Legends of Tomorrow is really hammy. Like, seriously. You almost wonder how these characters function while moving their jaws. So, I'm really looking forward to the season ender there. Okay, now we have general comic and convention news. We'll talk about news about comics that are not Marvel and DC related, as well as about conventions all over the world. And we sit here now 108 days from the mecca that is known as San Diego Comic-Con. For the first year, this show has a full set of 4-day badges to it. So I don't expect we'll spend a lot of time at third-party events this year.
No, probably not.
I have a feeling we'll be nose deep in stuff. However, that will not stop me from buying my own tickets to Hollywood Babylon. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that again.
Of course we're interested.
I just have to ask, because if I'm going to buy, I know I'm buying for me. I just have to know if I'm buying for anybody else that's going to repay those tickets. I don't want to overbuy again,
Yeah.
So
no, I would definitely like to go.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. First off, the 10th wave of guests, which is usually the last wave of guests for Comic-Con, has been announced. Sure. The writer and artist of The New Deal and of Green River Killer and Batman 66, Jonathan Case, will be there. Jennifer Hayden, the writer and artist of The Story of My Tits, and I'm not making that up. She will be there. The last 2 names, though, are extremely notable names if you're interested in comic book creators. The writer and producer of Sense8, the writer of The Flash, Earth 1, and Amazing Spider-Man, J. Michael Straczynski, will be there. And again, if they're in these waves of guests, they aren't just going to be there. They will also have panels, spotlight panels during the course of the weekend. And the last name will not be new to anyone on this show or anyone who listened to this show. The artist on Batman, Hush, and Justice League, the co-publisher of DC Comics, Jim Lee, is coming to Comic-Con.
Your man crush.
He's not my man crush. I would love to sit down and ask him some questions and ask him why he abandoned Marvel in favor of whatever the frick he's been doing. But supposedly, I think that's the last one, because according to Comic-Con International, the original plan was to announce new wave of guests every Monday through January, February, and March. So that isn't to say they're the final guests. That's just the final wave of spotlight guests. Comic-Con next year does have a concern. Again, we don't know when exactly it's going to fall in July of 2017. However, there is an event that falls on the weekend of July 21st, 2017 that is slated to have 130,000 people attend. If you don't know what that is, I can't help you. However, 1 week prior, the weekend of July 14th to 16th in 2017, it's been announced that there will be a D23 Expo at the Anaheim Convention Center. D23 Expo is Disney's proprietary convention. They post their own convention at the Anaheim Convention Center bi-yearly. And this year, or this upcoming year in 2017, they've decided to do it 1 week before Comic-Con. Now, some people would ask, why is that a big deal? Who cares what Disney does? If you remember the last D23, Disney decided to hold out Marvel Entertainment to do all of their reveals and a big panel for them at D23 in 2015. At least to figure that they may appear at Comic-Con 2016. So 2017, not only are they likely to hold out Marvel, but they've got the convention only a week before Comic-Con? There's no chance Marvel Entertainment's going to go to Comic-Con 2017.
Yeah.
That also presents another problem, though, because that could presumably impact Comic-Con's fan base. And I don't say that as a matter of, well, if you're a Marvel fan, you'll just never go to Comic-Con. That's not usually an option. But the reason why I bring that up is because D23 tickets for a 3-day weekend do run about $200. It's not an inexpensive show. So that could impact Comic-Con a little bit, only in the fact that you might have to choose one or the other that particular year. I know when it comes to the people on this show, it's not really a choice. I mean, we're all Marvel fans, but I don't think we're enough Marvel diehards to skip everything else Comic-Con has to offer that year.
Yeah.
It's just, it could really do something to the Marvel and Disney super fans that particular year. And it'll be curious to see how that develops. Dude, I was at WonderCon in Los Angeles. Decent show. Comic-Con International made the most of the building, and it's really astonishing the stuff they pulled off. However, what was superbly surprising to me was that the day of WonderCon, on March 24th, Comic-Con International announced that they are going back to Anaheim. They hadn't even closed the doors on Comic-Con 2016 before they announced, yes, 2017, we're going back to Anaheim.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
To me, that's a good thing. I think the Anaheim Convention Center and area is much superior to Los Angeles. It just makes me curious, what did Los Angeles and its convention center do to make them so sure they're not staying before anything even happened?
We're talking about the
like
Los
Anaheim
Angeles
more.
Convention Center. I'm sure that there are stories to be told.
Granted, but the one thing I will say from my experience at WonderCon this year, Los Angeles did its best to put on its absolute best show that year. The building was unusually clean. They hired extra friendly staff, and it was actually pretty chill that weekend. I think what they were doing was they were trying to use WonderCon as their pitch to get Comic-Con to negotiate with the city to get Comic-Con itself. Do I think that's realistic? No, I do not.
No.
But still, they put their best foot forward, and it still wasn't even enough to make Comic-Con International wait for the weekend to be done before it was announced that they're moving back to Anaheim already.
The LA Convention cannot hold Comic-Con. It is not big enough.
Well, it's not just the convention center. The local area doesn't have enough rooms to support it, nor does it have enough third-party meeting spaces for everything else that goes on during the course of a year. There's Los Angeles just can't hold it. But look forward. I'm going to be recording this weekend with Anthony Bionis to do the Conover podcast in regards to WonderCon. I invite you guys to listen to it because I have a lot to say in regards to the building and the new RFID system that they debuted at WonderCon.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting, I swear. As far as Comic-Con exclusives, though, Symbiote Studios has already made an announcement as to the first one they're going to offer. Last year they offered a few, including Sam and Max collectibles, which is not a name I've heard in quite a while. But this year, their first exclusive collectible will be $79.99, and it's a Warframe statue.
The Excalibur?
I don't know. No, okay. According to the story on the unofficial San Diego Comic-Con blog, it's a Nyx.
Okay.
A psychic-themed Warframe. I sent you guys the link so you could take a look. It appears to be the Nyx with one foot on a fallen foe.
I've been playing the game, so I'm actually quite familiar with this, and I've used this Warframe. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's the main bad guy.
I haven't played a lick of it, so I couldn't tell you.
I'm a fan of that particular Warframe. But
okay. Well, the collectible's only $80, and it's pretty detailed for that price range. There's also a roving art exhibit going on for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. It's called Star Trek 50 Years, 50 Artists. It's going to open July 21st at the Michael J. Wolf Fine Arts Center in San Diego. So it opens the same day that Comic-Con's going to be there. That's good news. After that, it's going to go to Las Vegas, Toronto, and the UK. The reason why I bring this up is not just because it's a third-party event that's happening outside Comic-Con. One of the artists featured in this art exhibit is Leonard Nimoy.
Really?
It is the final work of Leonard Nimoy as an artist. It's kind of this Warhol-esque version of a bunch of hands doing the Vulcan live long and prosper thing. But it is Leonard Nimoy's last official work as an artist before he passed away late last year. You can bet if V finds out this thing is going to be there, we might have to stop her from taking it off the wall.
You think she listens?
Do I think she listens to us?
Yeah.
I think she listens to the show. I don't think she listens to what we have to say. You know, all I can say is if I find out she's going to the show, I'm not going because I'm not going to be an accessory after the fact. And Funko has started to lift the veil ever so slightly on what they may have to offer for Comic-Con this year. There will be an annual Funko Fun Days. There will be an announcement in May with tickets not to go on sale before the announcement, so you can ease off the button there. Yoko McCann, one of the PR mavens for Funko, said that they'll be using a new San Diego Comic-Con process for distribution this year. If you recall, last Comic-Con they had kind of a mess because they changed processes midstream and didn't announce it.
Yeah.
But McCann did say it is important to Funko to get fans in those lines first, or Funko fans in those lines first. So they're trying to seek out the fans and not exclusive hunters. How can you tell the difference? Whatever. She does say that the tickets to Funko's booth should be a sale-less ticket distribution, similar to what Lego, Hasbro, and Mattel do. Last year, Funko had a very limited autograph signing and exclusive Funko Pop with Brian Fuller. They wouldn't pin down who will be signing this year, but they did mention they will be having an autograph session of some sort. And they're staying cagey about whether or not they're teaming up with Conan O'Brien again. So apparently Conan is bringing his late-night talk show for another set of tapings during Comic-Con weekend. The Funko booth will be getting a giant BB-8, possibly similar to last year's photo op giant Hulkbuster Funko they had. And their other PR maven, Cameron Duell, said that he expects fans to be surprised by this year's San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, and they've been working on great items. According to his quote, "After San Diego Comic-Con last year, we noticed a fair amount of people who were really excited about what we made and the exclusives that were provided. But there were some cries out of, and this happens at every con where we have exclusives, that we were doing repaints or variants that were lazy to some people. Our CEO really makes it a point not to do that and introduce new lines. And he was like, what are they saying? Okay, we're going to show them. Very determined to do something really great this year. So I haven't seen the concrete list, but I think it'll be a nice surprise for a lot of people," unquote.
You wish Hasbro would do something like that.
I don't know, man. Hasbro has actually some pretty good original exclusives at their booth. Maybe not the ones you picked up, but I mean, the ones I picked up were very different. If you collect Marvel figures, oh my god, they have new stuff every year. Comic-Con did announce that they're going to launch a new streaming channel on Free Comic Book Day. They're going to start a video-on-demand service called Comic-Con HQ. It's going to feature original scripted and unscripted series, recurring daily and weekly entertainment commentary, live and archival programming, film and TV genre titles, and behind-the-scenes access and bonus features from genre titles. Supposedly, there'll also be an interview with G4 alum Adam Sessler and women-led discussion show about pop culture, late-night talk show, weekly movie show, and more. The channel is also going to have Kings of Con, which will be a scripted show based on actual con experiences from Supernatural stars Richard Speight and Rob Benedict. Oh, that's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
They'll also have magician.
That one.
Yeah, they'll also have magician Jason Latimer's Impossible Science and voice actress Ashley Eckstein's Her Universe. That could be cool. I'd have to see more of the programming before I'm sure if I invested in it myself, though. Now, when it comes to comic news, this was not something I was expecting. I know Shingeki no Kyojin, or Attack on Titan, is a very big deal to anime fans. What I did not know... Well, I also know that there is a long-standing manga series that's still ongoing on Attack on Titan. What I did not know is that there will be a Western version of Attack on Titan comics. And no, I don't mean translations of the manga. I mean they're producing original Western comics based on Attack on Titan. American-style comic books. They're going to be released via Kodansha Comics. They are making brand new original Western versions of Attack on Titan. And they've actually hired some notable names to work on it, including Gail Simone, Phil Jimenez, Scott Snyder, and the current Batgirl team of Cameron Stewart, Babs Tarr, and Brendan Fletcher.
I'm almost interested.
I know, I'm on the fence because that's a great group of creators, but the subject matter is just so outside anything I find entertaining. I am so torn on that. Almost torn as if I was a Titan victim. Now, the Star Wars comics going on right now, issue 17, actually had an explanation for what could be the funniest moment in the Empire Strikes Back movie.
Really?
Yes.
What movie was that?
Well, in issue 17, the main characters of Star Wars are currently split up. Princess Leia is on a prison installation, is being attacked by other people, and she's having ethical struggles because they're imprisoning members of the Empire without any sort of due process or trial. And she's wondering how much they'll have to compromise their values to get the job done as the rebellion, which is a story in and of itself. On the other side of things, Luke and Han were supposed to buy supplies. They were given money. Han Solo lost it all in a gambling game. He lost it all in a sabacc game. So to come up with the money to buy supplies, they decided to take a smuggling job. You will not believe what they had to smuggle to earn this money. They smuggled Nerfs. I think Steve understands where this is going.
Sorry, that was me. Nerfs?
Nerfs. They're large bison-like creatures. Apparently, if you get them frightened, they tend to shed and sneeze really quickly.
Oh,
but
God,
this is
okay.
in reference. This is in reference to Leia in the middle of the early part of The Empire Strikes Back, calling Han Solo a stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder. So they actually built the basis for why in the blue hell she called him that. I gotta hand it to the writers. They are actually thinking. There's also an independent series out there that's being self-published by a husband and wife team called Comfort Love and Adam Withers. It's called The Uniques. This might be an interesting story because it's described as an HBO version of the Teen Titans growing up. In other words, what happens to young superheroes who actually manage to grow into adulthood? Or young adulthood, I should say.
Who live long enough for that? I don't know.
It's interesting because they're... Love and Withers are preparing to do a director's cut version of The Uniques after releasing a dozen issues and going back and fine-tuning things as they get ready for the future. They've actually been doing self-publishing for almost 10 years.
Wow.
There's got to be something to the story if they've been at this long.
Maybe we should look into it.
I'm thinking so. You know, they recommend books like Saga, which go way outside genre norms to tell stories. So it sounds like they like doing the unusual versions of stories, which pretty much sounds right up our alley. And last up in general comic news, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. IDW is developing a new comic book series based on Mask. The 1980s Hasbro toy property.
It needs some serious updating.
I think
needs some serious updating.
I think you're being nice. I think it needs to be gutted, filleted, and then rebirthed. You know, I don't think you can keep anything the same, because I watched the cartoon as a kid. Again, very much entertained as a kid. Now that I'm an adult, I'm convinced I was a stupid child.
You too?
Oh, man, it's... The base concept is fine, you know, since paramilitary... I say paramilitary, it's not a formal military organization, but just a group of people put together by a benevolent billionaire, like they all were in the 80s, who gave them transforming assault vehicles to fight another mercenary organization called Venom. This show was about as G.I. Joe as you could get without actually calling it G.I. Joe, frankly. And, you know, every one of the pilots on both sides had these specialized helmets that they called masks that all had different specialized abilities. And looking at the image, oh my god, dude, nobody had neck bones in this series. Because you put on these masks, you are not turning your head left or right.
Yeah, no, it came complete with a fixed cowl.
It's just, every one of these things, they don't just sit on the head, it sits on the shoulders, too. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't just sit on the shoulders, it also goes down, like, over the sternum and over the cervical vertebrae. You know, it's amazing that they had peripheral vision at all, frankly.
They're just like stormtroopers.
I think stormtroopers had a better field of vision. At least they could turn their head.
Yeah.
So, this would need a lot of changes. And is it just me, or does the central character, Matt Tracker, in that thing, he looks like a basset hound with sunglasses?
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, fine, but he looks like a basset hound.
I could see it.
I hope they make something completely different out of this. I do. There's no way this could stand as the 80s designs. It's so infeasible, it's not even funny anymore.
I hope they decide that, nope, they didn't mean this after all, and they go back and do something with Visionaries.
They're going to do something with both of them, frankly, because if you recall, Mask and Visionaries are both being introduced into Hasbro's Cinematic Universe.
Oh, really? I had forgotten that.
Yeah, the universe that's been established with Transformers, they're adding Mask, Visionaries, and the Micronauts to it. Which is very strange, considering all four of those series inhabit completely different versions of storytelling.
Yeah.
If it's inhabiting the Transformers world, I could see how they can incorporate Mask into that, to be honest, now.
Yeah, but the Visionaries and the Micronauts, the microscopic world and a far-flung future where technology doesn't work? Sorry, there's a bit of a discrepancy there. Almost hope they don't do it. Dude, I'm a Visionaries fan. I think that show is way underrated. I love the concept, but that should not be in a shared cinematic universe. That should be standalone stuff.
Yeah.
And last up is our WTF Corner, where we talk about those stories from across the internet that just make you ask, how in the blue hell is that possible? And first up, because we always enjoy it, we start the WTF Corner with video game videos. Incredible plays, unbelievable falls, graphic bugs that make it look like you're doing the electric boogaloo in your living room. And first up is an Uncharted 4 video.
Okay.
That beta's been going strong, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And most of the videos we've seen from the Uncharted beta haven't had to do with bugs. They've had to do mostly with just plays gone
weird
wrong,
physics
or
glitches
just,
and stuff.
Yeah, the occasional physics glitch or players just doing unbelievable stuff. This one, though, definitely falls into the former category. This is a bug. This came from the channel of user Troy Hicks, spelled just like it sounds. He titled his video, Uncharted 4 Tutorial Gone Wrong.
Okay.
I sent the video.
Sony.
Ooh, fancy,
PlayStation.
Yeah. PlayStation graphics, yay! UC4 Tutorial Gone Wrong. Whoop Troy. I guess that's his PSN name. So there he's beating the crap out of some poor NPC. You see that helper?
Mm-hmm.
He just hopped up on the wall in front of him, and he's...
Whoa!
He's grinding him.
Oh, God!
Look at the way he's working that pack. Uncomfortable.
Okay,
bad touch. I need an adult. I need an adult.
I am an adult.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I usually don't start with videos that are just that horrible, but I figure in this case I needed to wake everybody up. Next up is another video from Tom Clancy's The Division, relatively new game that's out lately. This was an interesting one from the channel of Oniken, Oniken. The title of this video is Tom Clancy's The Division Downed Glitch. Apparently we're going to be dealing a lot with bugs this week, aren't we? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know.
Depends.
Curious if it's Xbox or PC.
I'm not sure we'll get the distinction, but let's find out. I sent the video. Oop, grenade. I think. Okay. Player's gunned that bastard down. No, he didn't. The guy survived.
Yeah.
He's taking fire from two sides. Oh, and he's on the ground. He's crawling around.
Ouch.
And so he uses his psychic powers to defend himself. Levitate the gun.
Hell?
Fire!
Whoa, what the?
Okay, he's reloaded the gun, and he sent it back into the air.
Okay.
And believe it or not, he can shoot with that thing. He hasn't so far. There we go. There we go. Gun's firing by itself. And you can hurt the gun, apparently.
Apparently. And supposedly he's down, but he's not.
No, he has been able to defend himself so far. Oh, look, he's healed. And now he's got the gun again. And I'm okay!
Alright.
So, looks like the PS4 version.
Yeah, never mess with the Spanish Inquisition, son. Oh boy. You always know when we get a Witcher 3 video, something bad has happened.
Oh, God.
Nothing normal has ever come out of these, and it's always been some bizarre glitch. This one is more subtle, and it's only 11 seconds, so you gotta keep your eyes open, okay? This came from the channel of user Elliot Wild, E-L-I-O-T space W-I-L-D-E. The title of this video is Something Else.
Huh.
I know. I sent the video.
Heart carved out.
So you see somebody with his heart missing, right?
Wait a minute.
So the doctor checks, and there's something in the doctor's hand! There's an arrow in his hand! Hey, don't shove that in there! God damn it, wash first, man!
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know what to say. I don't know why he's working on bodies while he's got something impaled through his hand.
I assume that you rescued him from a fight or something, and they just didn't...
No, I know this storyline. The guy's a mortician. I'm not sure why he has the arrow in his hand, though.
Apparently, he's just that talented if he can prepare bodies with that sticking out of there. But we're finally going back to the world of Fallout 4. Been a little while since we've been in this particular world. This came from the channel of user Glass City SD. And he titled this video, Get Out Your Ass, Mr. Cabot.
Okay.
I know, not the best syntax. I was curious just on the title what that meant, and when I watched the video, it does make sense, not in the best of ways. I sent the video. So there you are in your mech suit. You see that guy on the right there? That's Mr. Cabot. Everything seems okay, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you're crawling forward. There's something behind that door. So as soon as he opens it, his gun is in his ass.
What the hell?
I don't know, but he's got it firm in there, and he pulled it out just to shoot somebody. Is that where you hide your gun,
so many
typically?
bad puns coming to mind.
Wow.
Do you think it's fully cocked and loaded?
Take that shit out of his ass.
He defended himself with the power of Taco Bell.
Usually when they say you're packing, they don't mean that you're doing it that way.
At least he packed it himself, okay?
With both arms.
I love the fact when he opened the door and needed that gun, he really dug in there to pull that thing out, didn't he? Oh, that was awful, I admit, but I had fun with that. All right, and the next video I have is from a game I have never featured in here before. You ever heard of Spin Tires?
No. Sounds like a car game.
No, I think it's a well, it's a simulator.
Is it?
Okay.
I think so.
I'm not
If
familiar
it's
with
the
it
one
myself.
I'm thinking of.
I know Spin Tires has to do with vehicles, but that's only because I pre-looked at this particular video. This one came from the channel of user Jace the Fox, Jace the Fox. And he titled this one, Trucks Freak Out in Spin Tires.
Yeah, it should be a like a construction, a big vehicle type simulator.
You mean it's a sandbox type thing?
Pretty much. Yeah, you just drive around, do stuff in it.
Okay.
I don't think it has an actual goal. I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't played it, so I can't say for sure.
Well, let's find out, because I sent the video. So there you are in some kind of menu.
Mm-hmm. Title screen, probably.
Yeah, I guess so. Come on, click something, you dummy. There you go. Proving ground? Okay. That is a very... Yeah, that's a very large, heavy military type truck, you know?
I don't think it's sitting right.
Well, he clicked refill, and you put gas in it, and apparently you freak it out.
Oh god, it's possessed.
Wow.
You see the driver jump... Although, get this, because it actually gets worse. The more he flicks around, suddenly he's taking damage, and it's freaking out, man. It's breaking its own physics, doing nothing. Go home, Optimus Prime. You're drunk. It is stretching itself a good, 15 yards somehow?
Okay, obviously that was a failed test in the proving grounds.
I don't know. I think most European trucks work something like that.
Not from my experience, but okay.
And all your mail to freight.
Maybe he made the mistake of putting leaded gas in it instead of diesel. I don't know. He clicked refill and it just lost it. I saw that, and there's something about that that's a combination of hilarious and horrifying, you know? I don't know if I can describe it better than that. The next video is from the channel of Earl Lacefield. That's a really mundane name for YouTube, but I give you kudos. At least it's spelled well. This is a Rainbow Six Siege video.
Ooh,
this one is titled Team Wipe Clutch.
Oh, clutch play.
Yes. Hey, sooner or later, we actually have to feature something that went well, right?
Mm.
I don't know, we got one last time. That was pretty awesome.
Well, I found some pretty decent awesome this week, but I sent the video already. So you got somebody planting a car battery. He's electrified razor wire.
Oh,
he's a mean
wow.
And he's carrying a riot shotgun. Now check this out. He runs through here into this cold section. Hear gunfire. Who shot that out? Oh, you did. And you're dead.
3 versus 3.
Yep, teams are even. Ran up behind him.
Behind the guy?
Killed him.
1 versus 3?
Yep, 1 versus 2. And finish you. 1 left. He is even the odds.
With a
And
pistol.
He's gonna finish it with a
And shut up, I win.
Oh, wow.
Mission successful.
Didn't even get to use the electrified razor wire. Wasn't exactly a superb play, but he played it solid.
Honestly, it was more or less they did not see him, and he wasn't even trying to hide.
Well, they were watching the wrong directions. He came up behind half of them. But the last video I have is another Rainbow Six Siege video. This was from the channel of user Rashar, R3SHAR. The title of this video is The Craziest Kill Ever.
That could mean anything.
I know. The fun will be finding out. And I sent the video.
Okay. It's got some kind of sniper rifle.
Yeah, and you see by it's one-on-one now, isn't it?
Picked up the diffuser.
Yep. He's defending himself from somebody.
Oh, it wasn't a sniper rifle. It's kind of an assault rifle with a
machine
scope.
gun. Yeah.
One of these
Oh,
1 versus
okay,
1.
now it's 1v1.
Yeah, he poked that guy right in the head.
1 or 2 shots.
So he's rappelling up to a rooftop. I don't know what's up with that echo.
Obviously. Got his speakers on.
And he just takes a couple pot shots, and let me see. He's got to be in there. So he uses sledgehammer to open the door, tosses a grenade, and he won.
What?
How? I hit him with the grenade.
Wait until you see the replay. Here's the replay. He tosses a grenade, follows the ball, bonk, killed him.
Oh my god.
He knocked him out with the grenade before it went off.
And the guy's wearing like a bomb suit. That should be plenty enough cushion that he...
Yeah.
Unless he was so terrified by being hit by a grenade, he peed himself to death.
Someone's mad. He's got to be mad.
Oh my god, man, I was playing Rainbow Six and Kobe Bryant killed me. Oh, man, I would never admit to that happening. I would say he just walked up behind me and shot me in the back of the head with a silencer. I would not admit to death by unexploded grenade. Next hit in WTF, there was... April Fools had a lot of interesting jokes that happened, and of course most of the ones on the internet are utter and complete bullcrap. You know, believing most of the things on the internet is a mistake to begin with on any particular day. But for some reason, April Fools, people tend to believe even less of it. Well, one Fox News station did not get a typical April Fool's joke.
Oh.
Yeah, Fox News 32, which appears to be an East Coast station, I believe. I think it was actually a Minnesota station? No, Illinois station, sorry. It's an Illinois Fox station. They had a special guest do the weather. Tom Hiddleston came to do the weather for a Fox station, and there was I have the video. There was a storm brewing that day, and he blamed it on Thor.
Oh, wow.
You want the video?
Yes.
Yes.
It's only 1 minute and 15 long. I sent it. I sent the video.
Somewhere in the Great Lakes area.
We're taking a look at tornado
Talking about
yesterday
Oklahoma.
north of Tulsa. This one touched down. 7 people were injured there, and fortunately, no fatalities to report. But some amazing video. That same storm
That is an
system
impressive
is the one
tornado.
that is going to be coming our way. Hopefully, not producing that kind of weather. But I thought that it was only fair that in the event that we have all of the intense thunderstorms coming here,
that looks
we
violent.
go to Loki, who is of course Thor's brother, to talk about the bad weather coming in here.
So you introduce him as Loki.
What have we got there?
Well, you know, my brother from another brother's been misbehaving. The God of Thunder has brought his skill set to bear on the local weather, shall I say. So there is this huge storm front coming in, and all that means is that Chris Hemsworth has taken his hammer, he's smashed it into the sky, and it's going to rain a hell of a lot. So good luck with that. And back to you, sir.
Very good. That was awesome. Way to go.
Right. Oh, wow.
Looking with the weather there,
That
Tom.
is
That
very
was terrific.
random.
Yes.
Thank you very much, guys.
Hopefully Thor's hammer will not come down too hard on us this afternoon. There is the risk.
I love the fact that he did that. However, am I the only one that when he said, it's just Chris Hemsworth smashing his hammer in the ground, I wasn't thinking hammer?
Yeah.
Please be more specific. Now, there's a very strange invention that's come out lately. And it's apparently come out in Sweden. This could really change the nature of construction, frankly. Researchers at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden have developed transparent wood.
Huh.
The process begins by taking an organic compound that makes the wood brown and slowly removing it. According to Lars Belgund, who led the story, quote, "The difference compared with timber is that we have removed lignin, but added a polymer to increase strength and provide transparency. We can create veneer from this material and then laminate it into larger structures such as load-bearing panels and beams," unquote. I know there's transparent aluminum, which is very Star Trek already, but transparent wood? Well, that would actually be kind of awesome to have sturdy, transparent frames for your windows that aren't, easily shattered by the next brick.
That just boggles right there. You're looking through wood.
Although I understand you could create columns and load-bearing structures out of this stuff. However, that would freak me the hell out. Walk around a large building and there's this gigantic transparent column. I'd be the one knocking at it just going, this is going to fall. I would be that idiot.
As far as some really interesting fantasy sets. No, seriously.
True. I know you're serious. It's just that is definitely true. Hadn't really considered it in that format.
Just wonder how transparent it will be with animals climbing all over it.
Yeah. Could you imagine getting like some transparent wood, making a scratching post out of it, and just letting cats go nuts? They would freak the hell out. I'm touching something, but I can't see it. Do you guys know who Colin Furze is?
No.
I don't think so.
He apparently likes to take some engineering know-how and build stuff that blows up. However, he built himself an actual supervillain, like steampunk-style device. And I saw the video was displayed. I haven't watched it, but I would like to know more about it. He apparently built himself a homemade thermite cannon.
I just saw that headline today, actually.
Yeah, the cannon fires rounds that will burn as hot as 2,500 degrees Celsius.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and that wasn't... Oh, dude, there is no way you will get this through airport security. But, thankfully, Colin Furze, he's a YouTube maven, so you can guess what that means.
Yep.
He recorded it.
Yeah, you want to see what a thermite cannon looks like? I sent that video.
Look! I've made a thermite launcher!
Oh, boy. Whoa.
Oh, God.
Let's go play!
That looked insane. You know what? I still haven't seen the movie, but I'll say it right now.
Whoa.
This should have been Lex Luthor. He's having way too much fun being destructive.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was another.
Mythbusters is still around. They will want to talk to this guy.
Flick these switches. That brings it down the barrel. Flick the other one, which brings it into the firing position.
He's got a pneumatic ram to fire the rounds. This would go so well with most steampunk conventions.
Yep.
A washing machine?
Movie?
Yeah, it's on. The motor's running.
Not for long.
Dude. Look at the smoke billow out of that. It's died on the show. Steve, what were you saying about Lex Luthor? Was there a problem in the movie?
I didn't like their portrayal of Lex Luthor. He came off
Jesse Eisenberg?
crazy for me.
Crazy or whiny? Because both he seemed to be both in the theater.
Crazy.
Or in the trailer.
Crazy, like nuts, like insane.
Oh.
I was laughing at him because the only thing I could think every time he came on screen was, it's arcade.
Honestly, yeah. That he would play a very good arcade. Not so much for Lex Luthor.
Huh. Interesting. The last story I have in the WTF corner, I've mentioned it earlier in the show. I am a professional wrestling fan. Steve and Jesse have watched it, although I don't know if they're fans necessarily.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys should watch NXT TakeOver Dallas. I've only watched one match. That was amazing. That happened this Friday. It's supposed to prelude WrestleMania as far as I'm concerned. Cancel WrestleMania because these guys are better. But the story isn't necessarily about NXT. This is about a former WWE wrestler who started his own podcast. Bret Hart held the initial recording of the Sharpshooter show. And he decided to do it by answering fan questions. You know, he's a notorious wrestler from the 80s and 90s. He's had a buildup of people asking him all kinds of questions. Mm-hmm. And one person decided to ask him if he was ever scared of taking the bonsai drop. You guys remember the bonsai drop?
Yeah.
Steve, do you remember Yokozuna?
Yes.
Yokozuna was a 400-pound Samoan man pretending to be a Japanese sumo champion. His specialty was a bonsai drop. He'd drag a wrestler into the corner, stand on the second turnbuckle, jump backwards, and basically sit on their chest. It was a combination impact and pin move.
Right.
Okay. So somebody asked him if he was ever afraid to take Yokozuna's bonsai drop. And according to the show, and WZR Online was nice enough to put up the full quote from the show, this would be horrifying. Quote, "Not most of the time. One time when we were in India and everybody had gotten really sick. I remember they told me Yoko was sick so he couldn't wrestle, but they didn't have any replacements. It was in Delhi or something. It was in India, and it might have been 90,000 people watching at a big soccer stadium. It was a huge crowd, and they insisted that he had to go out and wrestle me. I remember Yoko got up, and like I said, he was sick all day, not feeling well. But he sucked it up like you do in wrestling, or did back then. He went out and had the match with me, and I remember him climbing up on the second rope, and I remember looking at the back of his ass, and he completely shit his trunks.
Oh, God.
There was shit everywhere. It was like he sat in a big puddle of pea soup. I remember thinking as I was lying there, oh my God! He bravely jumped backwards and did his bonsai drop, and I moved out of the way, and it reminded me of a stamp pad. Like there was a big brown stamp right in the middle of the ring where he landed and bounced. I felt bad. I felt bad for old Yoko because he was sicker than a dog. Nobody should have made him wrestle, but he went in there and wrestled. After about 5 minutes, he must have just let it rip. This was the only time I was ever scared of a bonsai drop, unquote.
Oh, God.
Wow.
The imagery of a 400-pound man getting ready to sit on you with his pants stained, or with his tights stained with shit.
Oh, God.
I know he's retired, but Bret Hart may be the bravest man I've ever met that's wrestled. It takes guts to even lay down there and think that's coming at me. Man's been threatened with buried alive, snakes in bags, but dude, when there's a poop-filled butt coming at you, you question life. The subject of this week is Transformers, More Than Meets the Eye, issues 1 through 4 by IDW Comics. It is the story of a crew of Autobots, well, Cybertronians, I guess you can say, who ended up lost because they were on a ship that ended up taking an uncalculated jump to an unknown part of space. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
Transformers comics have always been kind of a struggle for me because often they try and balance the storytelling with humans. I guess it's in an attempt to make them relate more. But the characters in these books are just the Transformers themselves without any other alien species to come across. And I think they focused a lot more on the characterization of the robots than they did the people like they normally do in these books. And they came out with a bunch of relatively well-balanced characters, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm. I got a very original Star Trek feel.
It did have a few elements of like Star Trek Voyager or something. I'm not even sure where to begin because you do have to have a bit of a background in Transformers to get into it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I knew some of the characters, obviously not all of them.
Well, you're not going to know all of them because some of these are originals to the book.
Right.
Characters like Rung and Pharma are brand spanking new. I don't think they'd ever been mentioned prior to the series. And they did build an interesting balance because the writers of this book, and who was that? James Roberts. He went deep when it came to Transformers to put together a cast. There are characters in here I'm very well aware of, but I don't think most people would have known them prior to this comic.
Yeah.
For example, Rewind. One of Blaster's tapes from the original comic books and TV show. I don't think anybody would know who that is, but he stuck him in this book. The most neurotic of the Lamborghinis, Red Alert. Chrome Dome, who was a headmaster originally, who obviously isn't now. Frickin' Whirl, who was one of those send-away toys.
Oh, he was not nuts.
He was not a major player at any point in the original stuff, but they stuck him in this book. They took some brave choices here as far as casting.
Yeah, it took me a while to identify Redler. Actually, they had to outright say his name before I realized, it's him.
Yeah, his design is very different from usual, but they even took some of the mini Transformers from like Generation 2 and made them their own characters, gave them their own voices. I think early on in the book, it was interesting how Whirl and Cyclonus got involved because the two of them were so busy fighting, they didn't even realize they got onto the Lost Light ship.
No, they weren't on it. They flew by it.
Oh, that's
right.
They
flew by it. Yeah,
they
Whirl
got
got
stuck in
dragged
the
on
wake.
after he got disabled, and Cyclonus kind of stowed away.
The story of Tailgate was interesting.
Yeah, that's a fascinating character right there.
Did you read the original Sins of the Wreckers? Not Sins of the Wreckers.
No.
He was stuck on the team by another person. I don't remember who. I read it quite a while ago. Tailgate was supposed to observe the Wreckers and be a sort of living biographer. Turns out, though, he had some kind of issue and disease, and he sacrificed himself so the Wreckers could get away. So he's apparently been slowly crawling towards Energon for the last 6 million years. That's almost sad.
Wait. Well, at least according to this book, he was trying to take a shortcut and fell through the planet and was trying to use, the parts from his trailer to and some energon to explode and possibly call for help. And he was there for 6 million years, so he couldn't have been on the Wreckers.
He was on the Wreckers during their original adventures. The Sins of the Wreckers book occurred well in the past.
Yeah, sounds like it's a flashback story.
Because we're talking like millions of years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Wreckers have been around for quite a while. These were the Sins of the Wreckers was a pre-war book.
Okay. Well, in any case, according to his own monologue, he, just took a wrong turn.
Yeah, he did a little bit more than that.
There's a reason why he doesn't have legs.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed that was from the fall more than anything else, but yeah, in any case.
I did like the Beast Wars reference early in the first issue.
Really? Where was that at?
Yeah, you didn't catch Swindle holding onto a golden disc?
That's what I was trying to figure out what the hell that was.
Oh, okay.
It was a surprising little nod to nothing. But it was a cute idea. And the Lost Light getting... I will say the first issue, what really struck me was I was kind of impressed how they implied really heavily in the first book that there's a huge cast and we just don't know who's on this ship yet.
Right.
When they made that jump, there was a hole in the hull and like 40 Autobots came streaming out of it.
That kind of reminded me of Beast Wars right there a bit, but they gathered everyone back up.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty messed up, though, how that all ended up going down.
Oh, Prowl's a fucking ass.
Yeah. He always has been. I don't think that's been a secret in the Transformers comics.
I never followed the comics.
Well, Prowl in the IDW books is a master manipulator, and he's been doing it for millions of years. We discussed earlier how we found out that he was manipulating to perpetrating a bombing just to force the Autobots to enhance their control over the other forms of Cybertronians in the city.
Mm.
But, we'll get into it a little bit later, what I do know about this particular series. It's kind of hard to get into the details because you really have to have expansive knowledge of Transformers to get seriously into it. But it's not terribly hard to pick up, I'll say that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, to understand who the characters are that would be familiar to you, yeah, the background is necessary. But honestly, it's kind of a fresh start, so whether or not it really matters in the long run, probably not.
I'll be honest, I never really had much context for the characters when I watched it back as a kid because I didn't really pay attention to the characteristics, so which is why when you say Ultra Magnus is a complete jackass, I was like, really, he was? I really never picked up on that as a child.
Ultra Magnus in the cartoon was a...
control freak.
Yeah, he was a tight ass. He wasn't a jackass. Ultra Magnus in this particular series, he's like a military tight ass.
Yeah.
I think it was issue 6 or 7 where they had to micronize several of the Autobots to fight some kind of infection he had. And this infection was covering several pistons in the interior of his head. They were trying to figure out what Ultra Magnus had let inside him go so dilapidated and dead that they would be infected. Then they realized these particular pistons controlled his facial muscles. He hadn't smiled in so long, those pistons were useless.
Wow.
He nearly freaked out when they called him on the radio. Ultra Magnus, we're having a problem. We need you to smile. You need me to what? We need you to smile. I don't do that. We know.
That really does sound very Star Trek. Some mundane things causing all the problems.
Now, issue 2 had a hell of a mystery pop up in the form of a 1985 character called Skids.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what in the frick is happening here.
I have no idea either. And the fact that they kept saying to me was a date almost seemed like an inside joke, but I didn't get it.
Okay, well, first of all, in the inside of this pod he's escaping in, I'm guessing he etched before he lost his memory, you haven't escaped, they're all around you. That's creepy as all hell.
Mm-hmm.
And actually he woke up with a blowtorch in hand, which, obviously he just put that there, but he didn't turn around to see it. And I love the fact that he activated a switch. It just turned on just to see what it would do, and it turns out his shuttle transforms and it dropped him.
Well, no, he knew that's what it was. He just didn't know why. But he's like, obviously I like to take risks because I'm doing this.
Yeah, and it turns out the shuttle transformed into 3 giants, one of which died on impact. But you guys really didn't understand the joke of the date they kept repeating?
1984, yes, when the Transformers first aired.
Yes.
Or the year, anyways.
It's the year Transformers debuted, both in television and comic book form. I don't know why they kept repeating 1984. I'm sure it'll have another connotation when this particular mystery plays out. But I don't know. I did enjoy the scenes with Rung and Ratchet when Ratchet kept complaining about his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's been a medic for so long, and he's freaked out that his hands just aren't working the way they used to, and at one point he hits them with a hammer just to get the feeling back in them.
Yeah, put in perspective, Ratchet was a dinosaur when Optimus Prime came around.
Yes.
So that tells you how old he is.
He was old when Optimus Prime was new. Whirl nearly choked their psychiatrist Rung to death upon waking. And he was salty, man. However, I do like what they did with the character of Swerve. He is a dick.
Yes.
He demanded to be the one to tell Tailgate that he'd been mostly offline for the last 6 million years just to see what he'd do.
Yeah.
He's an absolute dick. I would like to know more about what Skid's story is. It makes me want to go back and read the actual 52 issues that exist of this book.
From what I understand from the toy they put out for him, he does have some memory issues, and he's trying. Again, it explains in there. He doesn't remember who he. Huh?
Right. Well, the toy itself is 2 or 3 years old, so that story may have been told in the subsequent issues already.
True.
I do know that he is a master of, espionage and weapons and the Cybertronian martial arts. But he doesn't remember why. but he doesn't know why.
Almost sounds like a Jason Bourne type character.
Pretty close. Let me see. In the second issue is also when Cyclonus begrudgingly decides to join the crew of this ship, probably because he has nowhere else to be. Cyclonus seems to be a bit of an angry pragmatist in this series.
Yeah, well, I mean, he betrayed the Decepticons, betrayed Galvatron.
He's now missing a horn.
He doesn't want to be a Decepticon anymore. He doesn't want to be an Autobot. He just wants to start over.
Right, but as you said, the reason why he's on this ship is because Whirl chased him around and was trying to shoot him down. They ended up in the wake of this ship as it jumped out. And I love the fact that Ultra Magnus makes them shake hands and agree to behave. And when Cyclonus shakes, he puts his head real close to Whirl and says, "I'm going to kill you. Not today. Maybe not for a while, but I will kill you. And don't think you'll see it coming." And he just walks away.
I love that. I really do.
I almost wish Whirl had an actual face instead of that one beacon, because I'd like to know what the expression was afterwards. With Whirl, it could have been anything. It could have been shock, surprise, anger, a middle finger. I have no idea. But I'd like to know what his reaction was in that moment. Let's see. They're still dealing with the story of regathering what's left of the Autobots while they're looking for the last two they don't know is dead. Oh, yeah, that's when Skids comes into the story.
Mm-hmm.
And he has Chromedrome, who's a Nemo surgeon, needles in his fingers to do brain surgery, take this limiting device off his head, and he opens his weapons cache, which is actually kind of fearsome for a guy that used to transform into a minivan. That was his original form. He was an ugly little blue and red minivan.
I remember that.
I
had that
toy. Have the Transformers comic where he and the others make their first appearance.
Yeah, I had that toy. There's nothing as fearsome as
the show where he got turned into a chair.
Yeah, there's nothing as fearsome as playing with a minivan. But when he gets his memories, he calls himself a theoretician. Yeah, it seems like he theoretically blew the head off another giant.
I just kind of took it as, he plays the odds.
Yeah. Let's see, the third issue, they had to deal with an interesting mystery when they find out there's a Spark Eater on the ship.
Mm-hmm. Which they didn't even resolve.
Partially, I think. I need to figure... I think there's something early in the Transformers books I need to read. I need to find out where they got this ship from, because according to the dialogue in the third issue, this thing may have already been trapped inside the warp engine of the ship when they bought it. Makes you wonder who they bought it from.
Yeah.
Let alone one of the Autobots is fused into the engine on the ship, which is just horrific.
Yeah, that reminds me of an episode of Next Generation, actually.
Yeah. Well, he's the reason why they are where they are, so I can't really feel all that sorry for him.
It's a horrific way to go, but the Spark Eater, the way it eats people is it somehow sucks their brain out, crushes it, and then pulls their spark out through their chest.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man! That is some next level Jack the Ripper style stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost like a Doctor Who storyline, frankly.
I'll be honest, I love Drift's reaction to Chrome Dome's way of analyzing the guy's memory.
Yeah, it's just like, I like to go in through the eye. What?
Yeah, but the perspective of Drift is a former Decepticon. It's a former Decepticon who is known for just mass murdering bots left and right.
I think it was known as Deadlock before. I read his name a while ago. I know it was started with a D, but I don't quite recall what it was originally.
Yeah. The mass murderer is disturbed by this.
Yeah, I just a Hot Rod asked Chrome Dome, I'd like a second opinion. Chrome Dome? And there was me thinking you'd invited me along for my dry wit. Ratchet, could you put his brain back in his head? With corpses, I prefer to go through the eye sockets. And then there's Drift off to the side. I cannot begin to tell you what's wrong with that sentence. And I like Trailbreaker and Rewind talking about the situation. What the hell is he doing? Something stupid? Something he promised he'd give up? Technically he's a Mnemo surgeon, a neuroscientist who specializes in memory. Oh, Mnemo with an M, because when you say it out loud, it sounds like, well, anyway. A Nemo surgeon? Does he think he's operating clownfish all the time, or what? Making Chrome Dome a a Monemo surgeon is an interesting idea. I never thought in that format before. Then again, the characterization of the original Chrome Dome from the 1986, little weak. All you knew was that his head transformed into a smaller thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, Tailgate and Cyclonus.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that was awkward.
Awkward nothing, because he was offline so long his transformation cog wasn't working. He got stuck half in vehicle mode. Tailgate did. So Cyclonus has to
Swerve was wondering what he looked like in vehicle form.
And Cyclonus isn't just carrying Tailgate as a form of courtesy. He's carrying him like he just bathed a cat. You know, like it insults him to even do this. He's holding him at arm's distance like he's diseased or something. And then as Tailgate is just talking about how nice the quarters is, he just drops him on his head. You know, Swerve is sneaking through the ship and found an extra space that functions as a bar, which he decides to make without anyone's permission.
Mm-hmm.
Ass.
He's an opportunist.
He definitely is, man. He reminds me a lot of like 80s stereotypes of just vicious little characters. And I don't mean vicious in the form of causing pain. I just mean he'll do whatever little instinct he has. What do you guys think of the design of the Spark Eater? That's nightmarish.
It kind of reminds me of some of the older comics back in the 90s, to be honest.
It reminds me of some of the 80s villains of Cybertronian enemies they had.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
You know, like I'm talking like the Marvel Comics run of Transformers with smelting pits and stuff. It's kind of hard to get into details because, again, you have to have some level of knowledge of Transformers to understand half the jargon they use. Should we just skip ahead to the 4th issue?
Okay.
Oh, the 4th issue was kind of interesting because it dealt with a pandemic. You know,
Yeah.
what was it? Ratchet, Drift, and Pipes go to a planet that's on the edge of territory controlled by the Decepticon Justice Department. How familiar are you with that?
Not any more than what it gave you in the comic.
Yeah.
Okay. The Decepticon Justice Department, if you ever have an inkling to look up those particular books, horrific is the first description I can give you. 5 members of a team that Megatron gave the specific job of finding all deserters and terminating them. And when they do so with utmost prejudice, meaning anything in their path also dies, unequivocally. But half the DJD transforms into things that's useful in that regard. One of them turns into a sniper's rifle. One of them turns into a grinder.
Oh, God.
And when he transforms to robot mode, that grinder is still in his chest, and he uses it.
That's terrifying.
Not exactly. One of the members transforms into an electric chair.
Oh, I've seen a third
Yes.
party of that character.
They are very purpose driven. Let's see. The idea of, was it Ratchet getting a coded message of a mortality rate was an interesting way to introduce this whole problem, I guess you could say. And I gotta ask, when Ratchet is talking to Swerve about it in the new bar he opened, I see Chrome Dome and Skids talking. Is that Power Glide behind them?
That
is Power Glide. No, there was in a previous issue there was a whole screenshot of like bulk of the characters, bulk of the passengers on the ship, and I was like, I know that one. That was like just started naming all of them.
Okay,
but
I had to ask. I tried not to get into the cast too much because IDW is very good about red herrings in these books. They'll introduce something you think you understand, but you probably don't. You know what I mean? But, God, the whole zombified plague of Autobots, that was an interesting trip. And I did like the fact that they introduced First Aid in that one. He wasn't just, an erstwhile member of another team. He wasn't a combiner yet. He was just another medic that they came across in their adventures. It reminds you that even though they all come from one planet, there was still a universe they inhabited. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like everything had to come directly from Cybertron. The debate about Tailgate and whether or not he wanted to be a Decepticon was a little bit sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got manipulated hard both ways.
I don't know about
Yes,
manipulated, but he seems to be the type of person that after so long, he just seems to believe the first thing everyone tells him.
Well, because he had no reference.
Yeah.
And then he got reference. And he was a little bit pissed off.
But when he went to confront Cyclonus about Cyclonus' versions of events, tell him how wrong he was, and punch him in the elbow, Cyclonus just looks at his elbow and then hits him with it. And then starts kicking him on the ground. And the whole time he does it with no dialogue. He just leaves after that.
I'll admit, I find it interesting that Cyclones is the only Cybertronian that Tailgate can identify without asking.
Hmm.
So it makes me wonder, how old is Cyclonus?
Cyclonus was partially immortal for quite a while due to the storyline of where he and Galvatron came out of, so it's kind of hard to determine. He's ancient by most standards, I will say that. Man, that scene of Pipes when he got the disease and he started to just fall apart almost instantly.
Oh, God.
For a form of storytelling that relies on visual stills, they told a very good moving story in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Everything felt like it had a lot of kinetic motion. And how easily this disease was communicable was kind of scary, but when they get jumped by two Decepticons who for some reason are immune to this disease, and First Aid was experimenting on spark jumping with a comatose Autobot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it seems to me that they were the ones responsible for spreading the disease.
Quite possibly, but the 4 issues we read didn't get into where this came from. And
I'm pretty sure the next issue would have finished that arc.
Actually, it took a little while. If I remember correctly, I peeked into I've read issues here and there as I remember that this book comes out. I think somewhere around the 20s, either Ambulon or Pharma is responsible for a lot of the things going wrong. One of them likes to...
Pharma doing it because he is just doesn't care.
They like to... Whichever one it was, and it was one of those two, like to experiment a lot. Fortress Maximus at the end of issue 4 was a very nice reveal. That was a callback to another older story in the IDW comics. He was beaten on... The Decepticon he refers to beating him unconscious, that was one of the Japanese creations, Overlord. I don't know how familiar you are, but he's always portrayed as a very fearsome, superbly powerful character. And he did beat Fortress Maximus within an inch of his life at a prison. Maximus was the warden of that prison, which held Grimlock at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, I can tell you from some of my haphazard readings of More Than Meets the Eye... First of all, what did you guys think of the book? Because it's surprisingly rich storytelling for a Transformers book.
Yeah, really. I read the first 2 issues of the Court book, and I was like, it's dark, gritty, and I don't know. I didn't continue after the second.
Mm-hmm. This book was very adventurous, I think.
Yes.
Well, like I said, I got a really big, Star Trek feel from it, and that was something familiar, but, told through the Transformers, it was unique, and I may continue reading a little bit further.
Okay. They do eventually pick up other crew members as people die, reborn. Eventually they do pick up 1 or 2 female Autobots, if I remember correctly. That has to do with other storylines. But the surprising thing I found in my haphazard reading is that one of them is a traitor. One of the Autobots on this ship is a secret Decepticon who had a plan to build a time machine and go back and kill the cause of all of his problems, who he determined at the time to be Megatron.
So that's that thing we saw at the end of the first issue.
No, actually, that storyline took a very long time to build up.
I know, but there was a thing at the end of the first issue where probably going to say, don't let them do this stuff.
I don't think that was that particular story, but I don't recall because, again, I've been reading haphazard. The thing is, do you know who the traitor is?
No, like I said, I'm just referencing what I found at the end of the first issue.
Well, normally I'd say spoilers, but this storyline played out about a dozen issues ago. Brainstorm is a Decepticon.
Right.
I'm not surprised by that, to be honest. That was my first guess.
Well, as it turns out, he hides his badge on the interior of his mask. That faceplate is removable. And that the basis of his time machine is in that briefcase he has constantly chained to his wrist.
Okay.
It gets more complicated than that, and I think it would just take too long to explain. But, there have been different issues that have been varying degrees of interesting. As it turns out, I can tell you that the Decepticon Justice Department, one of their members is a spy, an Autobot spy. I'm sure he doesn't mind killing Decepticons as part of the job, but he has an interesting way of leaving messages for people. When people barely survive an attack by the Decepticon Justice Department, you always need to check their bodies, because if their Autobot symbol was shot in the left eye, that was a message from the traitor.
Oh.
He left a coded message in the bullet jammed in that symbol.
Wait a minute. Going back to the third issue piece, I was noticing the line of badges that First Aid had, and
one of them had a hole in it.
A hole in the left eye, yeah, that played into it later. I know it was a very curious thing stuck in the middle, but it reminded me of that story. I don't remember which one... actually, I do remember which one was a spy. I think it was the one that turned into the sniper's rifle. He has this bizarre ability where he removes his mask, and on the interior of the faceplate is a bunch of drills. His version of torture is he places it on the face of his victims, and it just drills into them. They're not cuddly, okay?
No! Obviously!
I don't know. I mean, you guys have been Transformers fans for a while. Would you read this book on your own?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd read the issues, but the trades would actually be, I think, very fulfilling. They do re-release these books in, I think, 4-issue trades. Actually, hey, we're going to Comic-Con. IDW has a booth.
Sweet.
Besides which, if you can't find it there, go to look up a booth called Rocket. Rocket sells nothing but graphic novels at half off. That's the entirety of what they do at Comic-Con and WonderCon. So, might find it for a good price. But I was kind of surprised because, like I said, I usually read Transformers comics while I'm in between reading a bunch of Marvel stuff. So I often get distracted on the storylines. Now that I've had a chance to sit down and actually chew on the writing of these books, I like it, surprisingly. I thought I'd be jaded, and I thought it would just be one of those things where after I read it, I would be able to toss it aside. I actually want to read more of this story. Even knowing what I know about the future of it, I'd like to know who survives and who doesn't make it. One of the few I'm sure doesn't make it is Trailbreaker.
Oh, really?
Or Trailblazer. Wow. Yeah, they ran afoul of the Decepticon Justice Department. They cracked open his head, put his brain in between his teeth while it was still wired to his neurons, and then punched his jaw shut.
Oh God!
Again, not cuddly. So
wow.
Yeah, it gets morbid at times, but I think it's not one of those things where they're looking for just shock value. I do think it plays into the story and the characters they're building. And as much as some people may be enamored with certain characters in the book, you also got to remember, for most of the characters in Transformers, there's like 2 or 3 redundancies. They can mostly be replaced by other characters almost perfectly.
I'm not sure who has Trailbreaker's abilities that I recall.
The only one I can name off the top of my head is kind of a cheat because it's Defensor.
Oh, yeah.
But but again, this particular storytelling was before Combiner Wars. This was before most characters knew that it was possible to combine multiple robots into one form.
I'm assuming Devastator is like the only one that's been able to do that.
Devastator. The Constructicons exist. Devastator does not at this particular point. Somewhere around the late 30s, early 40s, they start the Combiner Wars story, where they find something called the Enigma of Combination. And if you can get a group of robots that work well together to touch and concentrate on this thing, it somehow enables their transformation cogs to reconfigure themselves so they can combine into one robot. So that means they're not stuck with those particular rosters. If they can find somebody else that works well with them, they can also swap in and out depending on who dies or if somebody quits that particular crew. It's how that's how Prowl ended up as the head of Devastator for a little while.
That explains their idea of having a additional member for each of the teams that we're familiar with.
Sort of, but some of that is storytelling. In the comic books, characters like Slingshot are dead. And Scrapper. They were both replaced on the respective teams with other characters that already existed in Transformers. I think I'm getting off on a very large tangent here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay. But, I think I don't know if I'd recommend this to comic book readers, but Transformers fans, I think more than meets the eye, more than satisfies the usual fandom, with the exception of those that say that everything has to look like they remember it in 1984.
Oh, grow up.
It's not my preference. I like it when things change. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
Okay. I look forward to reading more. It's just going to take me a while to get caught up on 50 damn issues of storytelling. All right. I was trying to think about what to talk about next week, and God, do you guys have? I don't have any series offhand I could think of. Is there any series you guys? I'm sorry.
Well, one series came to mind right before we got on was Gotham Academy. I was curious about that.
You want to try that out?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm always into. Not all comics I read have to be about people in capes and tights, man. Gotham Academy is very far outside that. If you want to check it out, I'm fine. The only other idea I have is that, it's getting on to 3 months before Comic-Con. Maybe we should have a discussion about what it takes to get set for something like that.
Oh.
It would be nice to actually have that discussion ahead of time instead of right before we leave,
Yeah, so people can actually try to prepare for it.
The people that are listening to the show that have badges and have never been, you really have to get ready well ahead of time. It's the only convention I know of outside of Dragon Con that requires a full 11 months and 2 weeks of preparation. I'd say that's fair, dude. I think that's being generous. At least I'm giving you 2 weeks rest. But it requires a lot of setup. Like, you don't just pack a bag and show up. If you don't have a plan, you will miss out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not that it's not because the information isn't there. It's just there's so much.
Yeah, and it requires a lot of stuff that usually doesn't come into most conventions. What do you guys think? Comic-Con discussion or Gotham Academy? I can go either way.
I don't know. We should go for the Comic-Con discussion just to get it out there as early as possible.
Yeah, that's fine. I am curious about Gotham Academy, though.
Okay. So I guess we have a 2-week plan then, because this weekend we got to talk, or next weekend we'll talk about Comic-Con prep, and then the weekend afterwards we'll do Gotham Academy. Okay. That sounds like a plan, frankly, which is something we don't usually have. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope it's been entertaining. Sorry we took a little bit of time off, but hey, what can I say? Life intrudes,
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with a family in WonderCon. I'm just surprised I got all that up as quickly as I did. So next week we'll talk San Diego Comic-Con preparations. If you've never been, have an interest in going, or are on your way, I seriously recommend you tune in, because you'll probably find out a lot from... We've only gone the last 2 or 3 years, and there's still a lot of information we can impart already.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy. Thank you very much. Invite you to roll with us again next week. Have a great weekend. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And Jesse.
Don't jerk and drive. Enjoy.
I hate that.
I don't know why I said it like I just had a mouthful of Mountain Dew. I don't know why it was so upbeat.